Chapter 1596. After the battle at Heaven and Earth Valley, the two true bodies of the dragon Phoenix and Qinglian were reunited for the first time. All the living beings of the 10,000 races had heard that Araki Takashi of the cultivation world had two true bodies, and one of them even became the young master of dragons. However, there were not many people who witnessed the reunion of the two true bodies personally. Of course, apart from the primordial 6 races and Penglai Island, the other races, including the cultivation world, did not know that the dragon Phoenix true body had already grown into a taboo. In their understanding, they thought that Long Mo was just a pure dragon. That's Araki Takashi's dragon's true body? Indeed, there's no difference in looks. However, there's a huge difference in aura. Qinglian's true body and the dragon's true body. Which one is Araki Takashi's true body? I'm not sure. It should be Qinglian's true body. The living beings of the 10,000 races discussed fervently. This is going to be interesting. Araki Takashi's dragon's true body is leading the dragons over. He's going to fall out with the primordial 6 races completely. It's just a single dragon. I'm afraid it's useless. That's right. I heard from the Protoss that the barbarian race is preparing to join forces with the primordial 6 races as well. No matter what, given Araki Takashi's personality, there's going to be a fierce battle. The aura of that dragon's true body is at the ancestor realm. When the dragon Phoenix true body arrived, a cultivator finally sensed it and exclaimed, "Araki Takashi's true body has already entered the Mahayana realm." Patriarch Shinyu and the others narrowed their eyes and glared at the dragon Phoenix true body warily as well. Although they were also at the early stage Mahayana realm, the primordial races knew that the true body of the dragon Phoenix true body was a primordial taboo. We're probably not a match for him in a one-on-one fight. Patriarch Shinyu sent a voice transmission secretly, "Let's be careful. If that dragon Phoenix truly dares to attack, the 5 of us should be able to suppress him together." Yes, Patriarch Golden Flame and the others nodded. Heavenly Shaman Patriarch sneered and said, "It doesn't matter. There are still patriarchs from the Heavenly Dipper sect. Let them play with this forbidden beast." The 5 patriarchs of the primordial races communicated secretly. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of barbarians had arrived at Enigma Palace. Leading them was Man Who. Behind Man Who were many barbarian race almighties and some barbarian race half-martial ancestors. So many progenitor realm experts? When the barbarians arrived at Enigma Palace, they were shocked. Because of the breakthrough of the dragon Phoenix true body, they were half a day late and had just arrived. To their surprise, by the time they arrived at the Enigma Palace, the situation had changed rapidly. The conflict had escalated to the point that many progenitors had shown up. The group of dragons followed closely behind, transforming into their human forms and descending one after another. The illumination dragon beneath the dragon Phoenix true body was Solitary Cloud, who had once followed him. Behind the dragon Phoenix true body were Long Tsang, Long Shi, and the others. Among them, there were even some half-step martial ancestors. Interesting, a patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect sneered, "Araki Takashi has 2 true bodies. The true body of the human race has yet to break through to the Mahayana realm, but the dragons have broken through first. I'm a little confused right now. Are you, Araki Takashi, a human or a dragon?" That sentence was completely heart-wrenching. The dragon Phoenix true body turned and looked at the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect, asking expressionlessly, "Were you the one who wanted to kill me earlier on? So what if I was?" When the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect saw that there were many patriarchs around him, he was naturally fearless. He raised his head slightly and retorted fearlessly, "All right." The dragon Phoenix true body nodded. "Then I'll kill you first." Before his sentence was finished, the dragon Phoenix true body flashed and crossed dozens of feet instantly, arriving before the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect and extending his palm. Clang, clang, clang. Sharp dragon claws flicked out from his fingertips and grabbed towards the head of the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect. The patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect reacted extremely quickly as well and released a small divine power right away, attacking the dragon Phoenix true body. Pumph. The dragon phoenix true body smirked and did not dodge. With a gentle swipe of his dragon claws, he shattered the small divine power. The expression of the patriarch of heavenly dipper sect changed starkly and his pupils constricted. Instinctively, he wanted to summon his destiny dermic weapon. However, the dragon phoenix true body attacked extremely quickly and did not give him a second chance. His palm descended and broke the patriarch's head. Against the dragon claws of the dragon phoenix true body, the patriarch's body was like paper. It was pierced easily and crushed the patriarch's essence spirit. With his essence spirit destroyed, it was useless even if the patriarch of heavenly dipper sect had any blood rebirth technique. Under countless gazes, the Mahayana patriarch of heavenly dipper sect was crushed to death by the dragon phoenix true body like an ant. The other patriarchs of heavenly dipper sect were not far away, but they could not react in time. They had more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs. Among them, there were even some late-stage Mahayana patriarchs and 3 perfected Mahayana patriarchs. They had not expected that the dragon phoenix true body, which was only at early-stage Mahayana patriarchs, would attack so decisively without any reservations. Patriarch Yuluo, Patriarch Fei Duan and Patriarch Su Jing were still wary against the dragons. The 3 patriarchs looked at Patriarch Xinyu and the others instinctively. Patriarch Xinyu and the others nodded slightly, indicating that they did not have to worry and could fight to their heart's content. Patriarch Yuluo and the other 2 were relieved. Should I address you as a Rocky Takashi or Long Emo? Patriarch Yuluo stroked the kitten in his arms and asked with a fake smile. The dragon phoenix true body's gaze subconsciously fell on the kitten's face and met the white kitten's eyes. For some reason, he felt a stir in his heart. It was a feeling that made him extremely uncomfortable. The white kitten did not have any cultivation aura, nor could it speak in human language. However, there was a strange emotion in its eyes. The dragon phoenix true body shook his head gently and did not think too much about it. Sweeping past Patriarch Yuluo and the others, he asked with a cold expression, "Who else wants to kill me?" A malevolent Earth sect patriarch had already received the order to attack as he pleased. He sneered, "Long, don't be arrogant. This is not the Dragon Bone Valley. Dragons like you don't have the final say. We were the ones who wanted to kill you earlier on." A patriarch of heavenly dipper sect stood out and said in a deep voice, "If you still dare to attack, don't blame us for joining forces to suppress you." "All right." The dragon phoenix true body nodded. "Since you guys dare to admit it, I'll dare to kill you." Of course, when the dragon phoenix true body descended upon Enigma Palace, the first thing he did was target heavenly dipper sect, malevolent Earth sect, and Penglai Island. It was not only because the 3 major sects wanted to kill Qinglian's true body. Most importantly, the 3 major sects had already submitted to the primordial 6 races. That was something that Su Zimo could not tolerate. Boom! The dragon phoenix true body stomped on the ground and leaped down from the skies. His blood chi surged and he fell into the crowd. Chapter 1597. The scarlet figure with a violent aura and scarlet hair fell heavily into the crowd. The living beings of the 10,000 races raised their heads instinctively with shocked expressions. The crowd below was not an ordinary crowd, but a crowd of Mahayana patriarchs. They were almost the top experts of Tianhuang mainland. If it were any other time, the appearance of any patriarch would cause the entire cultivation world to tremble. Furthermore, more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs were gathered. Even Patriarch Xinyu and the other 4 of the primordial races did not have the guts and boldness to do so. The might of more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs releasing a small divine power each was enough to destroy the world. Boom! Crimson flames burned on the body of the dragon phoenix true body. It was like a huge fireball that fell heavily into the crowd. Disperse! Many Mahayana patriarchs could sense the might of the flames on the dragon phoenix true body and dodged one after another, not daring to take it head-on. Every single one of the Mahayana patriarchs was a paragon or monster incarnate and had experienced countless life and death battles. Many Mahayana patriarchs stabilized their footing swiftly and surrounded the dragon phoenix true body with cold and murderous expressions. Patriarch Yu Luo, Patriarch Fei Duan and Patriarch Su Jing stood at the periphery without any intention of attacking. Although the primordial races were strong, the Dragon Phoenix true body was only at early-stage Mahayana. In their opinion, more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs were enough to suppress the Dragon Phoenix true body. Patriarch Su Jing hesitated for a moment. He knew the background of the Dragon Phoenix true body. However, on second thought, there were many mid-stage and late-stage Mahayana patriarchs among the 100-odd Mahayana patriarchs. Those that could cultivate to late-stage Mahayana would have already comprehended great divine powers. No matter how strong the primordial taboo was, it could not take on everyone single-handedly. If it was a normal primordial taboo, it might not be able to defend against the encirclement of more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs as they had expected. However, the Dragon Phoenix true body was not only a taboo. The Dragon Phoenix true body also possessed Butterfly Moon's inheritance and cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. That mystic classic helped the Dragon Phoenix true body awaken an incomparably powerful divine power when it was at the half-martial ancestor realm. Wind summoning, Hell Dao, Hungry Ghost Dao, Landslide, Earth, Thunder Strike, Scorched Earth, Lunar Eclipse. More than 100 Mahayana patriarchs attacked one after another, unleashing their divine abilities. In an instant, more than 100 divine abilities descended, and the entire void collapsed. Cracks appeared and began to distort, setting off layers of storms. It was as if doomsday had arrived. The Dragon Phoenix true body channeled its blood chi and the flames in its body spread out, causing the flames to shine brightly. The flames of the Dragon Phoenix. This was the forbidden Dragon Phoenix's innate ability. Upon entering the Mahayana realm, the power of that innate divine power was enough to incinerate any lesser divine powers. The cultivation methods of the primordial races and taboos were very different from those of the human race. Because the human race was born weak, they needed to cultivate all kinds of Taoist techniques, secret techniques, and even divine abilities to constantly strengthen themselves. As for the primordial races and taboos, even if they did not cultivate any cultivation techniques, as they continued to grow, their strength would also increase. For example, after the primordial races stepped into the Mahayana realm, even if they did not have to comprehend any minor abilities, their own strength coupled with their innate abilities would allow them to compete with or even suppress mid-Mahayana human cultivators. Although the attacks of these more than 100 small divine abilities were ferocious, they were instantly incinerated when they encountered the Dragon Phoenix flame. The Dragon Phoenix flame was an even more domineering and terrifying flame than the Divine Phoenix flame. Many Mahayana patriarchs looked at that scene in shock. The combined attack of more than 100 Mahayana patriarchs was neutralized just like that. Roar! The Dragon Phoenix true body burned with raging flames as it reared its head and roared into the skies, letting out an earth-shattering roar. In the blink of an eye, everything fell silent. Under this roar, the clamorous convention of a myriad races seemed to have fallen into silence. That shocking voice was the only thing left in the ears of the living beings of the myriad races. Against that roar, many living beings could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground one after another. That was a fear that came from the depths of their bloodlines. Even Patriarch Xinyu and the other four felt their hearts skip a beat and their faces turned pale, let alone them. Some of the Mahayana patriarchs who were closer to them had pained expressions and covered their ears instinctively. However, blood still flowed through the gaps of their fingers. Blood arrows sprayed out of their mouths and noses as well. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, 7 to 8 balls of blood mist burst forth from the void around the Dragon Phoenix true body. The blood of the Mahayana patriarchs splattered and their blood chi spread. Ah! A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. These clouds of blood mist exploded all of a sudden. Originally, there was nothing in these places. Some of the blood mists were initially scattered with a piece of gravel or a pile of sand. However, to think that with the roar of the Dragon Phoenix true body, 7 to 8 Mahayana patriarchs exploded from the gravel and sand in the void. A hint of mockery flashed through the eyes of the dragon phoenix true body. He was not surprised. His spirit perception was strong and had long sensed that there were some patriarchs hidden near him. Those were the Mahayana patriarchs of hidden death sect. Some of them used concealment divine powers and hid their auras completely. However, some of them used the 36 transformations and transformed into gravel and soil that scattered around the dragon phoenix true body, searching for an opportunity to assassinate. The 36 transformations was a minor divine power. After comprehending that minor divine power, a patriarch could transform into many things. As long as he willed it, it would not be a problem for him to transform into mountains, rivers, wooden stakes, rocks, and even utensils. However, it would not be possible for him to transform into living things such as birds, beasts, plants, and insects. If he wanted to transform more, he would have to comprehend the 72 transformations. The 72 transformations belonged to the category of great divine powers. Naturally, it was not difficult for him to transform into birds, beasts, plants, and insects. Of course, be it the 36 transformations or 72 transformations, there were flaws in transformation techniques. Furthermore, even the 72 transformations could not transform into a living person. The pinnacle of transformation was a peerless divine power, infinite transformations. To comprehend this skill, there was nothing that could not be changed. From the Kuan race to the dragon race to the smallest speck of dust, everything could be changed with a single thought. After comprehending that divine power, one could even transform into the same person. Even if two people were placed together, others would not be able to tell which was the real one. The few Mahayana patriarchs of hidden death sect thought that they could hide in the chaos by releasing their concealment divine powers, the 36 transformations. However, they did not expect the spirit perception of the dragon phoenix true body to be so strong that a single roar caused the bodies of the few hidden death sect patriarchs to explode. The cultivators of hidden death sect specialized in assassination and their blood chi and bodies were inferior. They could not withstand the roar of the dragon phoenix true body at all. Shoo, shoo, shoo. The essence spirits of 8 hidden death sect patriarchs escaped and wanted to be reborn from a drop of blood. Roar. The dragon phoenix true body opened its mouth and roared again. The essence spirits of the 8 hidden death sect patriarchs exploded and turned into nothingness. 8 Mahayana patriarchs were dead. Chapter 1598. Kill. Many Mahayana patriarchs were stunned for a moment before shouting one after another. Once again, they released many divine powers and summoned dharmic treasures that smashed towards the dragon phoenix true body. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Many flying swords transformed into streams of light and sped over at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, they arrived before him with sharp sword chi. The dragon phoenix true body sneered and with a single thought, a long saber with a chilling aura appeared in his palm. Dragon Soul Saber. The Dragon Soul Saber was a dharmic weapon to begin with. However, after the dragon phoenix true body entered the Mahayana realm, he rushed all the way here and tempered it with the power of divine powers, raising the quality of the Dragon Soul Saber to the level of a dharmic treasure. Su Zimo gripped the Dragon Soul Saber tightly and raised his arm. His blood chi surged and he slashed forward viciously. Swoosh! When the saber slashed down, a torrential wave seemed to appear before the eyes of many Mahayana patriarchs. Countercurrent of the sea calming 5 stances. All of a sudden, instantly, the color of the gigantic wave turned blood red. The ocean had already turned into a sea of blood with a chilling killing intent. Su Zimo's slash had already fused the countercurrent and Shura saber intents together and released an extremely terrifying impact. Although the flying swords were sharp, the light on them dimmed after passing through the sea of blood. Clang, clang, clang. The Dragon Soul Saber descended and slashed the flying swords. The surrounding dharmic treasures had already attacked as well. There were majestic mountains, resplendent jade hooks, ghostly and elusive silver needles, sparkling mirrors. Many dharmic treasures descended and covered the skies, almost forming an inescapable net. The dragon phoenix true body's expression was unchanged as he gripped the dragon soul saber tightly with both hands and slashed towards the void beside him. Rumble. Boom. Boom. The surrounding sea of blood was swept by the saber and formed a gigantic blood vortex that surged into the skies. It circled around Su Zimo with a terrifying might. Many dermic treasures descended and fell into the blood vortex, deviating from their trajectories. All the dermic treasures missed. The blood sea vortex became more turbulent and stronger. In the end, even the figure of the dragon phoenix true body had disappeared in the blood sea. Immediately after, the roars of dragons, tigers, apes, and phoenixes resounded from the blood sea vortex. Terrifying figures were faintly discernible behind blood sea, as though many domineering and ferocious demon kings had awakened. Rich and pure demonic chi burst forth endlessly from the blood sea vortex, blanketing the skies above Enigma Palace. The next moment, massive demon beasts rushed out of the sea of blood and charged toward the Mahayana realm patriarchs. There was a wild ox demon king plowing through the heavens. There was also the blood ape demon king pounding his chest and roaring. There was a demon king divine chariot charging forward. There was the desolate sea dragon king who could overturn rivers and seas. Every single terrifying demon king had ferocious claws and fangs. They were lifelike and had bloodshot eyes. Their killing intent surged and their auras were torrential. These demon kings charged into the crowd and unleashed extremely shocking lethality. A Mahayana realm patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect channeled his divine powers, wanting to push back the stone bear demon king that was charging over. However, his divine powers did not cause any ripples when they landed on the stone bear demon king and were easily resolved by the thick fur of the latter. Although the stone bear demon king's body seemed clumsy and massive, it arrived before the patriarch of Heavenly Dipper sect in the blink of an eye and leaned forward. That was a killing move from the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the Great Wilderness. It was released by the stone bear demon king in a fluid manner that was even more charming. In his shock, the Mahayana realm patriarch's body exploded instantly. He was smashed into pieces by the stone bear demon king's gentle lean. Before his essence spirit could escape, the stone bear demon king extended his massive bear paw and slapped down, killing the essence spirit of the Heavenly Dipper sect patriarch. Another malevolent earth sect patriarch wanted to make use of his dharma treasure and divine powers to kill the incoming anaconda. However, the anaconda coiled and coiled around the malevolent earth sect patriarch swiftly. It exerted strength with its body and minced the body of a Mahayana realm patriarch into pieces. Exclamation point. The anaconda demon king opened its mouth and devoured the malevolent earth sect patriarch. There was no chance for his essence spirit to escape. Heavens! What are these? The crowd exclaimed. All the living beings present were dumbfounded, their faces filled with shock. Although they had all heard of the dragon phoenix true body, not many of them had seen the means of the dragon phoenix true body. This should be Long Mo's bloodline phenomenon. A cultivator who had experienced the battle of Heaven and Earth Valley said sternly. However, the cultivator paused for a moment before continuing, "This bloodline phenomenon seems to be even more terrifying than the battle of Heaven and Earth Valley. I've also noticed that the number of demon kings seems to be one more than the battle of Heaven and Earth Valley." In the crowd, a 6-tusked divine elephant rampaged and none of the Mahayana realm patriarchs could stop it. Its 4 legs galloped and the ground quaked as dust billowed. Even some late-stage Mahayana realm patriarchs could not defend against the impact of the 6-tusked divine elephant in terms of strength. With a swing of its trunk, a Mahayana realm patriarch would definitely fall from midair. The tusks of the elephant danced and were sharper than any dharma treasure. The first cultivator pointed to a flash of golden light in the skies and suddenly said, "It's not just one. There are 2 more." Screech. A sharp and loud howl sounded from the firmaments. A golden light descended into the crowd at an alarming speed. The Mahayana realm patriarchs below could not react at all. The true form of the golden light was a golden-winged great rock. 2 claws swiped down in the crowd and tore through the heads of 2 patriarchs with incomparable precision, killing their essence spirits instantly. 2 Mahayana realm patriarchs died on the spot. The reason why the Dragon Phoenix true body attacked this time round was to establish his might, intimidate and sacrifice his saber. He wanted to tell the people of Heavenly Dipper Sect, Malevolent Earth Sect and Punglai Island that they would not be able to survive even if they submitted to the primordial 6 races. The Dragon Phoenix true body did not test the waters with the Mahayana realm patriarchs and released his bloodline phenomenon right away. 11 demon kings charged into the crowd and massacred in all directions. Nobody could stop them. Even some late-stage Mahayana realm patriarchs did not dare to face them head-on. On the battlefield, blood spewed and severed limbs flew everywhere in a tragic manner. That was not the blood of ordinary cultivators. It was the blood of Mahayana realm patriarchs. This scene was even more tragic than when the patriarchs of the primordial 5 races fought against the 17 Mahayana realm patriarchs of Enigma Palace. Just now, Enigma Palace only lost 7 Mahayana realm patriarchs. With the attack of the Dragon Phoenix true body, 11 demon kings charged into the crowd and started a massacre. The number of Mahayana realm patriarchs of Heavenly Dipper Sect, Punglai Island and Malevolent Earth Sect decreased drastically. In just dozens of breaths, there were less than 100 Mahayana realm patriarchs left in the 3 super sects. There were even more injured patriarchs. To the 3 super sects, this was simply an unacceptable loss. The reason why they chose to submit to the primordial 6 races was to save their lives. However, they did not expect to die even faster. Patriarch Yu Luo, Patriarch Fei Duan and Patriarch Su Jing were enraged. They could not watch any longer and attacked one after another. Chapter 1599. All 3 of them were at the perfected Mahayana realm. If they wanted to cultivate to the perfected Mahayana realm, they would have to comprehend at least 10 great divine powers. The bloodline, body and essence spirit of Patriarch Yu Luo and the other 2 had undergone the baptism of so many great divine powers and their combat strength was countless times higher than the other patriarchs. Patriarch Yu Luo summoned his destiny dermic treasure, a sword made of stellar meteorite metal. It was extremely heavy and shone with starlight as it descended from the skies like a meteor. Boom! The stellar sword descended and pierced the body of the Anaconda Demon King, pinning it to the ground. The Anaconda Demon King struggled with all its might and roared into the skies. However, it could not break free no matter what. Before long, the light of the Anaconda Demon King dimmed and its blood chi deteriorated before dissipating from the world. Those demon kings did not descend with their true bodies to begin with. It was merely the bloodline phenomenon of the Dragon Phoenix true body. Exclamation point. Patriarch Fei Duan summoned a fiend saber and severed the head of the Wild Bull Demon King. The Wild Bull Demon King dissipated as well. Patriarch Su Jing summoned a gigantic pair of gold and silver WRM scissors. In midair, it could even conjure 2 snip, snip. The gold and silver WRM scissors were extremely sharp. Accompanied by a crisp sound, the scissors closed and cut the golden-winged great rock that was streaking through the air into 2, turning it into nothingness. After charging for a while, the other demon kings were attacked by the divine powers and dermic treasures of the Mahayana patriarchs. They were on the verge of collapse and were no longer feared. Heavenly Dog devours the moon. Patriarch Yu Luo's gaze landed on the Dragon Phoenix true body and released a great divine power without hesitation. In the blink of an eye, a gigantic heavenly dog appeared before her. It had a ferocious gaze and sticky saliva flowed from its mouth as it glared at the Dragon Phoenix true body not far away. Clearly, the heavenly dog had already treated the Dragon Phoenix true body as the moon. It wanted to devour the Dragon Phoenix true body. Malevolent spirit descent. Patriarch Fei Duan hollered and released a great divine power as well. He channeled his spirit consciousness as though it was connected to the 9 hells. A sinister, pitch-black malevolent chi surged beneath his feet and condensed into a gigantic figure. It was as if a demon had crawled out from the depths of hell. A series of low growls came from the depths of the tormented spirit's throat. As long as Patriarch Fei Duan activated his spirit consciousness, the tormented spirit would lunge towards the Dragon Phoenix true body and tear it into pieces. Sea-breaking slash. Patriarch Su Jing waved his hand, forming a long saber that slashed down at Su Zimo. As the saying goes, draw a knife and cut off water. The eruption of this great divine ability could even split the ocean into two, let alone water. The dragon phoenix's true body was fearless, and its eyes were like torches. Although the 11 demon kings had been defeated, the demonic aura did not dissipate. It surged toward the dragon phoenix's true body, changing and condensing behind him. Gradually, a terrifying creature was born from the crimson demonic chi. It was a butterfly. The butterfly spread its blood-colored wings and hovered above Su Zimo's head. 2 bright full moons were imprinted on its wings, resembling a pair of cold eyes that glared at Patriarch Yu Luo and the other 2. This butterfly was only about 10 feet in size. No matter how one looked at it, it looked ordinary. However, for some reason, when the blood-colored butterfly appeared, Patriarch Yu Luo and the other 2, including Patriarch Xin Yu and the other 2, felt an inexplicable sense of trepidation. It was as though a calamity was about to befall them in the next moment. The heavenly hound was only formed from a great divine ability and did not have intelligence at all. It still charged towards the dragon phoenix's true body with a murderous aura. The tormented spirit swayed its gigantic body and pounced forward as well. In midair, a biting cold saber light descended, as though it wanted to cut the vast ocean into two. All of a sudden, the blood-colored butterfly above the dragon phoenix's true body flapped its wings gently. This trembling was so fine that it was almost undetectable. However, it triggered a shocking storm. The void in front of the dragon phoenix's true body was distorting, transforming, collapsing and collapsing. The heavenly hound that pounced over had already arrived in front of the dragon phoenix's true body. Even the dragon phoenix's true body could clearly smell the stench coming out of the dog's mouth. However, the moment the blood-colored butterfly flapped its wings, the heavenly hound paused in midair. Immediately after, cracks began to appear on the heavenly hound's body. Initially, it was still a small crack. However, it expanded rapidly and covered its entire body. Right in front of everyone, the heavenly hound exploded and turned into nothingness. The tormented spirit let out a shrill roar as well. Before it could approach, its entire body was riddled with holes and its murderous aura dissipated. The stunning saber light that could cut the ocean into two dissipated after the blood butterfly flapped its wings. The 3 great divine abilities were blocked by the blood-colored butterfly. Pissed, the living beings of the 10,000 races gasped in shock. The dragon phoenix's true body was only at the early stage Mahayana realm, but it could fight against a perfected Mahayana human. This had already exceeded everyone's understanding. The pupils of Patriarch Yu Luo and the other 2 constricted and their expressions changed as well. Those were 3 great divine abilities. Yet, they were easily resolved by a blood-colored butterfly. What sort of method was that? The 3 of them were bewildered and a hint of fear appeared in their eyes. As expected of a taboo bloodline, Patriarch Su Jing was secretly shocked and stole a glance at Patriarch Yu Luo and Patriarch Fei Duan. He was already thinking of retreating. The other Mahayana patriarchs had already dispersed far away and did not dare to approach. Furthermore, they were prepared to escape at any moment. They could already tell that the dragon phoenix's true body was not something they could fight against. One had to experience countless dangers in order to cultivate to the Mahayana realm. None of them wanted to die here. Right then, the blood-colored butterfly above the head of the dragon phoenix's true body dissipated gradually and vanished as well. The cultivation realm of the dragon phoenix's true body was still too low and had only just entered the early stage Mahayana realm. The fact that the blood-colored butterfly could defend against 3 great divine abilities was entirely due to the power of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. That was its limit. Patriarch Yu Luo's expression was cold as she stroked the white cat in her arms gently. Even in the midst of this battle, she did not abandon the white cat and hugged it the entire time. That was because the white cat was her trump card to deal with Araki Takashi. Initially, she was not in a hurry to use it. However, the strength of the dragon phoenix's true body had already exceeded her expectations and she did not want to wait any longer. Araki Takashi. Patriarch Yuluo lowered her head slightly and stroked the white cat in her arms, smiling gently. Take a guess. What's the background of this white cat? The dragon phoenix's true body narrowed his eyes slightly. Just now, he could sense that there was something wrong with the white cat. However, he could not tell what it was exactly. Come to think of it, it was a coincidence, Patriarch Yuluo said softly. I came out of seclusion and was prepared to participate in the convention of the myriad races. On the way, I bumped into a young lady with decent potential and wanted to take her in as a disciple. To think that the young lady already had a master and rejected me without hesitation. As a Mahayana patriarch, it's rare for me to have the intention to take in a disciple. However, I was rejected. Wouldn't I be a joke if word got out? Patriarch Yuluo smiled gently. I was a little angry, so I cast a divine ability on her and turned her into a white cat to calm her down. When he heard that, the expression of the dragon phoenix's true body darkened completely. Chapter 1600. The white cat looked at the dragon phoenix's true body not far away, as though it wanted to break free from Patriarch Yuluo's embrace. However, Patriarch Yuluo merely exerted some strength in his palm and the white cat's body shuddered. It had a pained expression but resisted the urge to make a sound. The living beings of the 10,000 races were confused. They did not know why Patriarch Yuluo would suddenly mention the white cat in his embrace. Only the dragon phoenix's true body knew that the white cat in Patriarch Yuluo's embrace was his eldest disciple, Kitsune. He finally understood why there was a strange feeling in his heart when he saw the white cat. That was because the way the white cat looked at him was the same as Kitsune's. Because the dragon phoenix's true body was not Qinglian's true body and had not truly interacted with Kitsune, he could not recognize her right away. That was the reason why he could not recognize Kitsune right away. Furthermore, even if it was Qinglian's true body, he would not dare to rashly acknowledge her based on a familiar gaze. There were 6 Daos in the world. The heavenly Dao, human Dao, Shura Dao, animal Dao, hungry ghost Dao and hell Dao. Among the 6 Daos, the first 3 were good Daos. Once comprehended, they would be great divine powers. The last 3 were evil Daos. If comprehended, they would be lesser divine powers. If one could comprehend all 6 Daos and fuse them, it would be a peerless divine power, 6 paths of reincarnation. Patriarch Yuluo released his divine power and turned Kitsune into a cat. The divine power he used was the animal Dao. The descent of the animal Dao could turn humans into all sorts of beasts. Unless another Mahayana patriarch used a great divine power of the human Dao to redeem her, it would be difficult for her to recover to her original state. The animal Dao was one of the evil Daos and was extremely vicious. Furthermore, it was a Mahayana patriarch who was dealing with a void reversion. Back then, the most dangerous situation Su Zimo faced was when he was killed by a half-martial ancestor expert at the void reversion realm and almost died. But now, Kitsune was being targeted by a Mahayana patriarch. The dragon phoenix's true body knew very well that he was the reason why Kitsune was experiencing such a calamity. Patriarch Yuluo gripped the white cat's neck gently, preventing her from moving. He said with a smile, "This void reversion girl seems to be called Kitsune or Araki Takashi. Do you know her? Araki Takashi?" Ah. Patriarch Yuluo's true body. Xiaoyao jumped to his feet and glared at half-martial ancestor Yuluo with murderous intent. He wanted nothing more than to rush over and swallow her alive. Sit down, sit. Yin Lan frowned slightly and pushed Xiaoyao back. Sister. Li's phoenix Yuez, spirit is white you carefree said anxiously, then let the patriarch come. The patriarch will definitely be able to save the white cat. Don't be anxious, Yin Lan said, your master is the most anxious about this matter. Isn't he very capable? Let's see what he has planned. When they heard Patriarch Yuluo's words, the living beings of the 10,000 races gradually understood that Kitsune was definitely related to Araki Takashi. Kitsune seems to be someone from the Baiming family and Araki Takashi's eldest disciple. I remember now. In recent years, she's a monster incarnate who has risen. She cultivates the Wu Dao and is extremely strong in combat. It said that she has already obtained the true teachings of Araki Takashi. No wonder Patriarch Uluo would attack a void reversion. Kitsune is in the hands of Patriarch Uluo. Unless Araki Takashi disregards Kitsune's life, Araki Takashi will probably compromise out of consideration. Many cultivators whispered. The Dragon Phoenix true body nodded and said, Bai Ming Shui is my first disciple. Oh! Patriarch Uluo pretended to be surprised. What a coincidence! The Dragon Phoenix true body looked at Patriarch Uluo with a cold expression. Patriarch Uluo could not help but laugh. Araki Takashi, that girl's talent is not bad and I don't want to hurt her. If you want to save her life, you have to agree to a few conditions of mine. Don't worry, my conditions won't make things difficult for you. The Dragon Phoenix true body remained silent. Patriarch Uluo smiled and continued, How about this? Don't say that I'm unreasonable. I'll give you a choice. Do you want your Qinglian's true body or your disciple? You can only choose one. The moment he said that, a commotion broke out in the crowd. How should I choose? It's not easy for Qinglian's true body to cultivate and she's about to enter the ancestor realm. Furthermore, she's a creation Qinglian. How can she give up? But if she doesn't give up, his first disciple will die. If Araki Takashi chooses Qinglian's true body, he'll have to bear the guilt of his disciple for the rest of his life. Although he didn't kill Kitsune, Kitsune died because of him. That's a vicious move. If Araki Takashi leaves her in the lurch, his Dao heart will be shaken. Either destroy Araki Takashi's Qinglian's true body or cripple his Dao heart. Many onlookers could see Patriarch Uluo's sinister intentions. The white cat in Patriarch Uluo's arms suddenly struggled. Even if Patriarch Uluo used more strength, the white cat did not care. It only struggled with all its might, its eyes filled with determination. Patriarch Uluo's nails were long and slender. As the white cat struggled, her nails had already pierced deep into its body, causing blood to flow. Its snow-white fur was stained with blood. However, the white cat did not seem to feel any pain and continued to struggle with all its might. The more it struggled, the more blood it flowed. However, it still refused to stop. In the palm of a Mahayana patriarch, the white cat's strength seemed insignificant. However, it refused to give up and bit Patriarch Uluo's palm. If its teeth were broken, it would scratch with its claws. If its claws were crippled, it would smash its head. A cultivator sighed softly. To think that Kitsune's personality would be so unyielding. She doesn't want to implicate Araki Takashi and is bent on seeking death. Senior sister. Carefree stood up and his vision gradually blurred as he exclaimed instinctively. The Dragon Phoenix true body looked at the white cat that was struggling with all its might with a look of heartache and pity in her eyes. Suddenly, Patriarch Uluo felt uneasy. Coupled with the fact that the white cat in her arms was struggling continuously, she felt frustrated. Retracting her smile, her expression turned cold. Araki Takashi, I've given you a chance. It's not a difficult choice. It depends on what you're willing to give up. My patience is limited, Patriarch Uluo said coldly. If this white cat angers me, I can strangle it to death at any time. As the disciple of Araki Takashi, Dark North will definitely encounter countless hardships and dangers. I've told her about that before. The Dragon Phoenix true body finally spoke. However, we can't go overboard with these hardships. Uluo, as a Mahayana patriarch, you've crossed the line by attacking a void reversion. You gave me two choices and I don't want to choose either. The Dragon Phoenix true body looked at Patriarch Uluo and paused for a moment before saying slowly, I want to choose the third option. Chapter 1601. Before she finished speaking, two pairs of four wings had already appeared behind the Dragon Phoenix true body. A pair of burning flames resembled the wings of a divine phoenix. Every feather was like an arrow that had been burned through, emitting a crystalline luster. The other pair of wings was even larger and shone with a dazzling golden light. It was no different from the golden wings of a rock. The Dragon Phoenix true body instantly vanished from the spot. A reddish gold light flashed. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Patriarch Uluo. It was too fast. Even if Patriarch Yu Luo was prepared, this speed had already exceeded her expectations. Since you don't want to give up on Qinglian's true body, your eldest disciple will die because of you. Patriarch Yu Luo shouted and exerted strength in her palm, wanting to strangle the white cat in her arms. Freeze! The moment the reddish-gold light descended, the voice of the dragon phoenix true body sounded. A strange divine power descended on Patriarch Yu Luo's body. This divine power was only a small divine power that the dragon phoenix true body comprehended after entering the ancestor realm. The inspiration came from the final saber technique of the Saber Emperor's inheritance, sea calming. The saber intent of sea calming was actually nurturing a divine power. The dragon phoenix true body had just entered the ancestor realm, and the most shallow divine power that it comprehended was this body immobilization art. Patriarch Yu Luo's expression changed. The power of this divine ability could actually restrict her figure, making her unable to move at all. Of course, the power of this divine power was not strong. In the blink of an eye, she could break free from the influence of this divine power. However, the problem was that the dragon phoenix true body was close. Of course, the dragon phoenix true body did not have any hopes. The body immobilization art could restrict a perfected Mahayana like Patriarch Yu Luo to the spot and make her unable to move. What he wanted to do was to use the body immobilization art to lock onto Patriarch Yu Luo for an instant. When experts fought, they fought for this instant. An instant was a thought. 20 thoughts were only an instant. Not only could this instant save Kitsune's life, it was also enough for the dragon phoenix true body to kill Patriarch Yu Luo. Being able to cultivate to the peak of the Mahayana realm, old ancestor Yu Luo was no pushover. He immediately realized how terrifying this matter was. She knew that she had made a mistake and had lost the initiative. If she waited for her to kill Kitsune, she would not have the chance to leave this place alive. Patriarch Yu Luo reacted extremely quickly. He even abandoned his physical body. His essence spirit left his body and turned into a streak of light that fled into the distance. Bang! The moment her essence spirit left her body was punched into pieces by the dragon phoenix true body and was drenched in blood. If her essence spirit was a step slower, she might have been killed by the dragon phoenix true body. Patriarch Yu Luo's Yuan divinity fled far away and activated his divine sense. In the blink of an eye, he reformed his physical body. The dragon phoenix true body was not in a hurry to chase after her. Instead, it carefully picked up the white cat. The dragon phoenix true body's consciousness moved, and the wounds on Kitsune's body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, even with his methods, he was unable to restore Kitsune to her human form. Once the beast Tao was released, it was irreversible. Without a great divine power of the human path, it was completely impossible to resolve. The dragon phoenix true body held the white cat with both hands as guilt surged in his heart. As if sensing the guilt and self-blame in the dragon phoenix true body's body, the white cat lowered her head slightly and rubbed against the palm of the dragon phoenix true body. Everyone present, who knows a great divine power of the human path, I, Araki Takashi, will definitely remember this kindness in my heart. The dragon phoenix true body looked around and asked loudly. No one responded. These 6 divine powers were considered Buddhist divine powers. Without a deep foundation of Buddhism, it was very difficult to comprehend them. The dragon phoenix true body said softly, Baiming, Master's current ability is limited. I can't transform you back yet. But don't worry. If anyone bullies you, Master can help you vent your anger. After saying that, the dragon phoenix true body turned around and looked coldly at the distant Patriarch Yu Luo. He said coldly, Be ***, how dare you? Swoosh. The dragon phoenix true body leaped and flapped his 4 wings, pouncing towards Patriarch Yu Luo. Fellow Taoists Fei Duan and Su Jing, help me. Patriarch Yu Luo was shocked and hurriedly shouted for help. Patriarch Su Jing's eyes flickered. He stood on the spot and didn't rashly step forward. Patriarch Fei Duan didn't think too much about it. He took out his intrinsic magic treasure and prepared to help. Right at this moment, the sky suddenly darkened. A terrifying pressure descended and enveloped the entire Enigma Palace. Patriarch Fei Duan subconsciously looked over. The figure of the dragon phoenix real body had already disappeared. In its place was a huge mutated demonic beast with a dragon head and a phoenix tail. Its body burned with blazing golden flames, and its claws and teeth were sharp. After this demonic beast descended, all the living beings of the myriad races felt an uncontrollable fear, and their hearts trembled. This aura made all the living beings of the myriad races submit in fear. Even Ancestor Xin Yu and the others were silent like cicadas in winter. Their eyes were filled with deep fear and dread. Patriarch Fei Duan was about to rush forward when he saw this scene. He was so frightened that his legs went soft, and his voice trembled. Forbidden, dragon, phoenix. The dragon phoenix true body was only at the early stage Mahayana realm. Given his combat strength, he might be able to fight against the dragon phoenix true body. However, the fear towards the taboo had long seeped into his bones. Even the Mahayana patriarchs of the primordial races would retreat in fear when they saw the primordial taboo, let alone him. It was only at this moment that the living beings of the myriad races realized that Araki Takashi's true body was not the true body of dragons, but the true body of a dragon phoenix. In this generation, 2 of the 3 primordial taboo had already been born. Apart from a few people, the other living beings did not realize that all 3 primordial taboo were present for the convention of the myriad races. Some cultivators with sharp eyes saw clearly that many scales stood up on the broad back of the taboo dragon phoenix, forming a circle that blocked the surrounding flames. Within the circle was a white kitten. It was Araki Takashi's eldest disciple, Kitsune. Even if Kitsune turns into a beast, it's worth it. That's right. Who in this world can sit on the back of a taboo dragon phoenix? Many living beings lamented. Patriarch Fei Duan recognized the origin of the taboo dragon phoenix and retreated secretly, afraid that he would attract the attention of the dragon phoenix true body. There was no one beside Patriarch Yuluo on the battlefield. At that moment, Patriarch Yuluo's face was pale as well. She had not expected that she would provoke such a terrifying existence. Araki Takashi, there must be a misunderstanding. Patriarch Yuluo forced a chuckle and tried her best to explain. Just now, her dominance and confidence had vanished without a trace. You don't have to explain to me, the dragon phoenix true body said coldly. Suddenly, it opened its mouth and spat out a scarlet flame. To be precise, it was no longer flames, but scarlet lava. After the evolution of this innate divine power, the flames of the dragon phoenix had become even more terrifying. They turned into rumbling lava that poured down towards Patriarch Yuluo. Chapter 1602. Ice Frost Realm. Patriarch Yuluo immediately unleashed a great ability, instantly condensing a layer of chilling frost barrier around her body. The entire ice barrier was condensed into a huge ice crystal with distinct edges and corners. Shing. The crimson-red lava poured onto the ice barrier, and the 2 forces of ice and fire collided, instantly bursting out billowing green smoke, emitting a burst of ear-piercing sound. Lava slid down the ice barrier and enveloped Patriarch Yuluo completely. The light of the ice barrier flickered as well. The edges of the ice crystal had already been melted by the lava. However, the scorching lava could not penetrate the ice crystal completely. The 2 powers fought without giving way to each other. The dragon phoenix true body had a cold expression as it swooped down and extended its menacing dragon phoenix claws, digging into the gigantic ice crystal. Crack, 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 crack. Flames burned on the dragon phoenix claws as well. Each claw was like a red-hot iron hook that pierced through the ice crystal instantly. When Patriarch Yuluo saw that, her expression changed starkly. If the ice barrier did not have any flaws, it could still last for a long time. But now, the ice barrier had already been pierced by the dragon phoenix true body and cracks had already appeared on the ice crystal, allowing the scorching lava to seep in. She could not hold on for long. Roar! Right then, the dragon phoenix true body roared into the skies and flapped its wings. Flames burned as the dragon phoenix claws tore towards both sides. Once the taboo dragon phoenix released its full strength, the sharpness of its claws could even tear the massive body of the Kuan race into two. The dragon phoenix true body did not give Patriarch Yuluo any more time and tore apart the ice barrier, causing countless ice shards to fall to the ground. Slash! Patriarch Yuluo channeled the stellar sword in her hands and stabbed towards the dragon phoenix true body. The dragon phoenix true body did not dodge. Extending its dragon claws, it ignored the sharpness of the stellar sword and gripped it tightly in its palms. Another dragon claw descended and landed on Patriarch Yuluo's head instantly. The claws were sharp and cold air gushed out of them. As long as it used a little strength, it could pierce through Patriarch Yuluo's head. The outcome was clear. Under the envelopment of the dragon phoenix claw, Patriarch Yuluo could not even leave his body with his primordial spirit. He did not dare to act rashly. The dragon phoenix true body shed his original body and transformed back into his human form. His left hand was holding the white cat that Kitsune had transformed into, and his right hand was pressing on the head of Patriarch Yuluo. His expression was cold. After cultivating to this stage, Patriarch Yuluo didn't want to die. The dragon phoenix true body was decisive in killing, but it did not immediately kill her. This gave her a glimmer of hope. Araki Takashi, this is my fault. Patriarch Yuluo gulped and forced a smile. But I did cast a spell on Kitsune without harming her life. Please show mercy and give me a chance. Seeing this scene, many cultivators lamented. This was a Mahayana realm patriarch, a peak Mahayana realm patriarch. If Patriarch Yuluo had not humiliated Kitsune and offended the dragon phoenix true body, she might even have transcended the tribulation to become an immortal and ascend to the upper world. However, at that moment, in order to survive, Patriarch Yuluo could no longer care about his dignity as he bowed and begged the dragon phoenix true body. The dragon phoenix true body was expressionless and asked in return, "If I give you a chance, who will give Dark North a chance?" She can recover. Patriarch Yuluo said hurriedly, "As long as there's a patriarch who has comprehended the great divine powers of the human Tao, he can transform her back. I know that there are such eminent monks in the Buddhist sects." Is that so? The dragon phoenix true body released his grip gently and placed Kitsune on the ground. He looked at Patriarch Yuluo and said, "Since you've made a mistake, you have to account for it." When she heard that, Patriarch Yuluo felt uneasy. "Kneel and apologize to her." The dragon phoenix true body pointed at the white cat on the ground and said coldly, "What?" Patriarch Yuluo's eyes flashed with rage. She was a Mahayana realm patriarch. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, she had already reached her bottom line by begging in a low voice. But now, the dragon phoenix true body wanted her to kneel and apologize to a beast and a white cat. Araki Takashi. Patriarch Yuluo's brows furrowed as she glared and said sternly, "As a Mahayana patriarch, I have the dignity and pride of a patriarch. Even if I die here, I won't kneel to a beast." She could bear it if he lowered his voice or even begged her bitterly. However, if she were to kneel and apologize to a beast, she would definitely become the laughingstock of the cultivation world even if she survived. Her Tao heart might even collapse on the spot. "You have no control over your life in my hands." The dragon phoenix true body sneered, "Even if you want to die, you'll have to kneel." The dragon phoenix true body extended his leg and tapped gently on Patriarch Yuluo's knees, causing the sound of bones cracking. Crack, crack, crack. Patriarch Yuluo's knees were shattered by the dragon phoenix true body and not a single bone was intact. Patriarch Yuluo cried out in pain and her face turned pale. The dragon phoenix true body exerted strength in his palm and suppressed Patriarch Yuluo. The Patriarch Yuluo knelt on the ground and faced the white cat that Kitsune had conjured. "You!" Patriarch Yuluo's face flushed red and she shuddered in pain. She gritted her teeth so hard that they almost shattered. However, her essence spirit could not break free from the control of the dragon phoenix true body. "If you don't apologize, I'll help you." Right in front of countless gazes, the dragon phoenix true body pressed down on Patriarch Yuluo's head and slammed it onto the ground with a loud thud, kowtowing loudly. A Mahayana patriarch was kowtowing to a white cat. That Araki Takashi is truly ruthless. This is even more ruthless than killing Patriarch Uluo. A warrior prefers death to humiliation. Isn't Araki Takashi going overboard with his actions? Overboard? A cultivator shook his head gently. None of you can tell what Araki Takashi's intentions are. What? The surrounding cultivators asked. Even if Kitsune has the chance to return to being a human in the future, this experience will definitely leave an indelible scar on her Tao heart. The cultivator said, no matter how strong her cultivation is in the future, everyone will remember that Kitsune was once reduced to a beast. This is very likely to become her inner demon. Many cultivators nodded. The cultivator continued, now, Araki Takashi's actions are to erase this scar in Kitsune's Tao heart. Furthermore, Araki Takashi wants the world to see that although Kitsune was once reduced to a beast, the patriarch who dealt with her knelt and kowtowed before her. Kitsune was once reduced to a beast, but she once sat on the back of the forbidden dragon phoenix and had a Mahayana patriarch kowtow to her. Who in the world has had such an experience? Not only will this not become Kitsune's inner demon, it might even help her sharpen her Tao heart even more. Many cultivators fell into deep thought. Another person said faintly, I'm afraid that's not the only reason Araki Takashi is doing this. Araki Takashi is also warning all living beings and all the powerhouses in the world that his disciples are not to be bullied. Otherwise, this will be the outcome. Mahayana patriarchs are no exception. Chapter 1603. Bang, bang, bang. The dragon phoenix true body pressed down on Patriarch Uluo's head and kowtowed thrice. With each sound, the hearts of the living beings of the 10,000 races trembled. After the 3 kowtows, Patriarch Uluo's forehead was already bloodshot. Araki Takashi! Patriarch Uluo screamed, I'll fight it out with you. Patriarch Uluo channeled a secret skill and her essence spirit was already burning. An extremely domineering power burst forth from her body and was almost about to break free from the control of the dragon phoenix true body. That was a sure-death secret skill. Burning one's essence spirit would allow one to obtain immense strength for a short period of time. Unfortunately, the dragon phoenix true body did not give her the chance. The moment Patriarch Uluo burned her essence spirit, the dragon phoenix true body flicked her fingernails and pierced her head, killing her essence spirit. The perfected Mahayana realm Patriarch Uluo of Heavenly Dipper sect, ranked 34th on the Divine Power ranking, died in Enigma Palace with endless resentment. The dragon phoenix true body stood up slowly and surveyed her surroundings. None of the remaining dozens of Mahayana patriarchs dared to meet her gaze. Enigma Palace was completely silent. All the living beings present were stunned by the powerful methods of the dragon phoenix true body. Patriarch Golden Flame sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness, as expected of a primordial taboo. His methods are way too ruthless. Thankfully, the patriarchs of the human race are around. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy for the 5 of us to deal with these methods. Yes, let Long Mo fight the human patriarchs. The more intense their fight, the more advantageous it will be for us. Patriarch Heavenly Shaman said faintly, by the time Long Mo is almost done fighting the remaining Mahayana patriarchs, he probably won't have many trump cards left. At that time, the 5 of us can join forces and kill him as well. That's right. Patriarch Shinyu smiled gently. Araki Takashi, just now, there might be some misunderstanding. Patriarch Fei Duan coughed gently and cupped his fists. We're here this time round to facilitate the peace talks with the primordial 6 races. We have no intention of targeting you, fellow Taoist. That's right. The convention of the myriad races is a gathering of the myriad races. Let's all sit down and have a chat so that we don't end up killing each other again. Old ancestor Su Jing chuckled awkwardly. In front of the forbidden dragon phoenix, even Fei Duan and Su Jing, 2 peak Mahayana realm ancestors, had to bow their heads. Although they had submitted to the primordial 6 races, they were not fools. If he continued to fight with the dragon phoenix true body, It would only be a situation where both sides suffered losses. The reason why the three super sects chose to submit to the primordial six races was because they wanted to protect their sect's legacy and their own lives. But now, before the convention of the myriad races had even started, their three sects had already suffered heavy losses. Old Ancestor Xinyu and the others glared at Old Ancestor Fei Duan and the others. However, the patriarchs either lowered their heads, avoided his gaze, or pretended not to see him. The Dragon Phoenix true body glanced at progenitor Fei Duan, progenitor Su Jing, and the others. He nodded after a while and said, "Sure, if you want to sit down and talk, behave yourselves and sit down properly. Without my orders, no one is allowed to leave Enigma Palace." That's not a problem. Many patriarchs heaved a sigh of relief and walked back from afar. They also wanted to see the final outcome of the convention of the myriad races. Patriarch Fei Duan and the others finally felt relieved. If the Dragon Phoenix true body still wanted to kill, they would have no choice but to escape. When they saw that, Patriarch Xinyu and the others frowned. Initially, they were still waiting for the Dragon Phoenix true body to continue fighting with the patriarchs of the three super sections. It would be best if both sides were injured so that they could reap the benefits. To think that both parties would stop. That caused the plan of Patriarch Xinyu and the other four to fail instantly. The moment the Dragon Phoenix true body descended, he went on a killing spree and suppressed the patriarchs of the three super sects. His goal was to intimidate and establish his might. He had never thought that he could make the three super sects submit to him single-handedly. However, at the very least, the three super sects could not become a hidden danger for the human race during the convention of the myriad races. Now that he had achieved his goal, it was time to stop. The Dragon Phoenix true body knew very well that his true enemy and threat to the human race were the primordial six races. Man who? At that moment, the Xiaoxiang goddess stood out and asked in a deep voice, "Where's the Imperial Sky God?" "He went to the barbarian race." "Why didn't he come with you?" Just now, when the battle broke out, she was constantly patrolling the crowd, but she did not see the Imperial Sky Godchild's figure. Now that the battle had stopped, she could not hold it in anymore and stood out. This man who scratched his head, looking a little awkward. "He's already dead." The Dragon Phoenix true body carried Kitsune and handed her over to Long Shi. When he heard the Xiaoxiang goddess question, he replied indifferently. What? The Xiaoxiang goddess was slightly stunned. She stared at the Dragon Phoenix true body and gritted her teeth. "Say that again." The Dragon Phoenix true body turned around and walked toward the Protoss with a calm expression. He said slowly, "Didn't you hear me clearly? I've already killed the Imperial Sky Godchild." The Xiaoxiang goddess trembled as if she was struck by lightning. Prince Grey Wu and the others were secretly speechless. They looked at the Xiaoxiang goddess with a strange gaze. Just a moment ago, the Xiaoxiang goddess was still bragging about how the Imperial Sky Godchild was entrusted with the important task of inviting the barbarian tribe out. Now, it seemed like the barbarian tribe had come out of seclusion, but it was still uncertain which side they were on. Long ago, the Xiaoxiang goddess's eyes were filled with endless hatred. She glared at the Dragon Phoenix true body and said coldly, "Don't be so smug. One day, my cultivation will surpass yours. I'll personally avenge the Imperial Sky Godchild and make you pay with your own blood." There's no need for that day to come. The Dragon Phoenix true body's expression was calm. He did not stop walking and was getting closer to the Xiaoxiang goddess. He said indifferently, "Since you two are so close, I'll send you on your way now so that you can reunite in hell." Before he could finish his sentence, the Dragon Phoenix true body swayed and stepped forward. Boom! The ground shook. This step seemed to have crossed hundreds of feet. In the blink of an eye, the Dragon Phoenix true body was already in front of the Xiaoxiang goddess. He flipped the sky and slapped down. "Be careful." Patriarch Xinyu sensed that something was wrong and quickly warned. However, it was already too late. The Xiaoxiang goddess was only a half-martial ancestor. However, she could not resist at all against the Dragon Phoenix true body at the Mahayana realm. "You! The Xiaoxiang goddess only had time to say a single word before her head was slapped by the dragon phoenix true body's palm. Bang! That peerlessly beautiful face was shattered into pieces by the dragon phoenix true body's palm and turned into a blood mist. The essence spirit of the Xiaoxiang goddess was also dispersed by the power and turned into nothingness. The Xiaoxiang goddess was dead. It was only at this moment that the living beings of the 10,000 races reacted and exclamations sounded from the crowd. Many cultivators were shocked as well. Nobody expected that the dragon phoenix true body would suddenly look for the Protoss and kill the Xiaoxiang goddess on the spot after stopping the war with the 3 super sects, including Heavenly Dipper sect. From the moment the dragon phoenix true body attacked to the death of the Xiaoxiang goddess, it only took a breath. Even Patriarch Xin Yu and the others could not save her in time. Before the dragon phoenix true body descended, the primordial 6 races controlled the situation and killed wantonly. However, the arrival of the dragon phoenix true body suppressed the arrogance of the primordial 6 races completely. That's it for today. Everyone go to sleep too. Good night. End of chapter. Chapter 1604. Araki Takashi. Patriarch Xin Yu's expression was cold as he glared at the dragon phoenix true body and said coldly, "Both parties have already stopped fighting, but you're still killing. I think you don't want to negotiate with the primordial 6 races anymore." "Of course we can negotiate." The dragon phoenix true body glared at Patriarch Xin Yu and did not conceal the killing intent in his heart as he said slowly, "However, I will only negotiate with the primordial 5 races. That does not include you, the Protoss." "What do you mean by that?" Patriarch Xin Yu's heart skipped a beat. "The meaning is simple. If you want to negotiate, the prerequisite is that you have to kill the Protoss first." The moment the dragon phoenix true body said that, he leaped up and charged towards Patriarch Xin Yu. The living beings of the 10,000 races were secretly alarmed when they saw that. Prior to this, the primordial 6 races had already revealed their supreme methods and were incomparably domineering. To think that the dragon phoenix true body would be more than 10 times stronger than the primordial 6 races and even more ferocious than them. In a flash, the dragon phoenix true body arrived before Patriarch Xin Yu instantly. Boom, boom. The blood chi in their bodies burst forth and reached the tsunami blood realm instantly. However, Patriarch Xin Yu's blood chi was still rising and an ancient and mysterious pyramid appeared beneath him. Billions of living beings knelt and prayed with reverent expressions. Patriarch Heavenly Witchcraft, Patriarch Song Ming, Patriarch Golden Flame, and Patriarch Liang naturally would not stand by idly either. They roared and released their 4 innate divine powers. Innate Curse, Eye of the Storm, Sun Essence Fire, Wings of the Storm. A strange power descended into the dragon phoenix true body's consciousness and enveloped the scarlet-haired essence spirit rapidly. The curse technique descended into the consciousness out of thin air and was impossible to guard against. However, the dragon phoenix true body ignored it. In his sea of consciousness, it was simply a vast world. There was a vast and boundless land inside with terrifying demon kings living on it. Wild bulls plowed the skies and divine elephants trumpeted. Beyond the land, there was a black ocean with a dragon king wreaking havoc in the ocean. A gigantic spirit turtle was faintly discernible in the surging waves. Even in the skies, there was a golden-winged rock flapping its wings. Before the power of the curse power could approach the scarlet-haired essence spirit, it was shattered by the roars of the demon kings and turned into nothingness. Patriarch Song Ming opened his heavenly eye and a violent storm began to form. Lightning bolts surged within it and it looked as if it could tear everything in the world to pieces. At the same time, Patriarch Golden Flames raised his head and roared into the sky. He opened his mouth and spat out a stream of blazing golden flames. Patriarch Li Ying released the gale wings, and his movement technique became even faster. His entire body had practically disappeared from everyone's sight. Even though the dragon phoenix true body had dispelled heavenly witchcraft Patriarch's innate curse, there were still 3 divine abilities that surged toward him. The spirit consciousness of the dragon phoenix true body moved and he waved his hands in front of him, causing the power of divine powers to descend. In front of the dragon phoenix true body, a huge stone shield appeared. Its surface was rough, and there were intricate and complicated patterns on it. It was mysterious and profound. It was the first of the 4 great divine powers of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness, Spirit Turtle Shield. Buzz. The dragon phoenix true body gathered his spirit consciousness and the grooves on the stone shield lit up with a bedazzling brilliance. Scram! The dragon phoenix true body covered the stone shield above his head and hollered. Boom! The storm, sun essence fire and Patriarch Li Ying's dual sabers collided against the gigantic stone shield with a deafening sound. The storm surged and flames burned on the stone shield. However, it could not break through the defense of the stone shield. Clang! Patriarch Li Ying's dual sabers struck the stone shield and his body shuddered as he felt a terrifying recoil. He could not hold his sabers with both hands and his palms were torn apart. His sabers flew out of his hands. Ancestor Li Ying let out a strange cry and retreated. And beneath the stone shield, the figure of the dragon phoenix true body had already vanished from sight. After he used this supernatural ability, he didn't stop at all. He arrived in front of Patriarch Divine Universe and slammed out a palm. Tidal strength erupted and strength rose, suppressing Patriarch Divine Universe. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Patriarch Divine Universe's body shook and he swayed for a moment. The strength that erupted from the dragon phoenix true body's palm was far too great. The pyramid beneath his feet actually shattered. Cracks appeared and it began to collapse. Heavenly divinity descends. A strength that originated from ancient times descended. Patriarch Divine Universe's body emitted beams of golden light as his aura rose. Behind Patriarch Divine Universe, the phantom of a heavenly divinity appeared. It towered between the heavens and earth, emitting a dazzling light that overlooked all life. At this moment, Patriarch Divine Universe was like a true god. Humph! The dragon phoenix true body was fearless. His blood vitality rose and he stretched out his arm. A series of crackling sounds came from his body and his arm instantly swelled, becoming twice as thick. Strong muscles bulged out like knots. On the surface of his skin, a layer of crimson scales grew. The human hand had already disappeared, replaced by an incomparably ferocious dragon phoenix claw. Poochie! The heavenly divinity phantom had just descended when it was directly torn apart by this ferocious dragon phoenix claw, causing the phantom to dissipate. Immediately after, the dragon phoenix claw descended and grabbed towards Patriarch Divine Universe. Patriarch Divine Universe was so scared that his face turned pale. His liver and gallbladder were torn apart. He urged his blood vitality to escape, but the dragon phoenix true body was even faster. It followed him like a shadow. The dragon phoenix claw was like a giant prison that enveloped his head. He couldn't escape at all. In the next moment, Patriarch Divine Universe's vision darkened. Poochie! Under the watchful eyes of countless people, Patriarch Divine Universe's head was directly crushed by the dragon phoenix claw. Blood splattered everywhere. Patriarch Divine Universe's primordial spirit couldn't escape. It was crushed by the dragon phoenix claw. All of the beings present widened their mouths in shock. The Mahayana Patriarch of the Protoss was killed by the dragon phoenix true body just like that without being able to resist at all. Thump. By the time Patriarch Heavenly Shaman and the other 3 rushed over, Patriarch Divine Universe's headless corpse had already fallen to the ground without any signs of life. The entire process was too fast. There was no second chance for Patriarch Heavenly Shaman and the others to attack. The dragon phoenix true body turned around slowly and glared at Patriarch Heavenly Shaman and the other 3 coldly. Patriarch Heavenly Shaman and the other 3 felt their hearts turn cold. Unable to withstand the gaze of the dragon phoenix true body, they subconsciously took half a step back and their hearts almost jumped out of their chests. The dragon phoenix true body's tone was cold as he said slowly, "If you guys dare to move again, don't blame me for killing the 4 of you as well." It was a blatant threat. That tone was filled with disdain, as though he was crushing 4 ants. However, Patriarch Heavenly Shaman and the other three were stunned and did not dare to move. Although the primordial 6 races had joined forces, Patriarch Divine Universe was already dead. There was no need for them to risk their lives for a dead person. Araki Takashi, a celestial race's mighty figure, stood out and shouted, "You killed our deity's son, goddess, and even our ancestor god. Our celestial race will tear you into pieces and make you pay with your blood." Is that so? The dragon phoenix true body was expressionless as he waved his hand. Dragons, listen up. Kill all these pros. Don't leave a single one alive. End of chapter. Chapter 1605. What? The living beings of the 10,000 races were shocked as they looked at the dragon phoenix true body in disbelief. Even the Protoss of the primordial 6 races present could not believe that the dragon phoenix true body would issue such an order, let alone them. More than 100 Protoss came to the convention of the myriad races this time round. Just now, they had suffered considerable losses in the battle against Araki Takashi and the Super Sex, and there were less than 100 of them left. The remaining Protoss were all mighty figures and half-martial ancestors. Every single one of them was the backbone of the Protoss. With that order, a huge feud would be formed between the dragons and Protoss, and there would be no room for negotiation. This was not as simple as killing the divine sons and goddesses. This was a ruthless extermination. Although the primordial 6 races had clashed in the primordial era, they were wary of each other, and such an extreme situation had never happened before. Araki Takashi, how dare you? A half-martial ancestor of the god race still did not dare to believe it. His eyes widened as he shouted sternly. Roar! A dragon's roar sounded. A gigantic divine dragon soared into the air. Its entire body was covered in green scales that shone with a cold glint. It had 5 claws beneath its abdomen and possessed a wanton might as it roared into the skies. That's a 5-clawed divine dragon. The dragons of this generation are way too strong. A dragon phoenix and a 5-clawed divine dragon have appeared. Long Tsang reverted to his true form and circled in midair. With a roar, he swooped down and charged towards the half-martial ancestor Protoss. The half-martial ancestor Protoss was shocked. Until now, he still could not believe that the dragons would be so fearless as to kill the Protoss. Exclamation point. The half-martial ancestor Protoss reacted slightly slower and was devoured by Long Tsang. Golden blood splattered everywhere from the dragon's mouth and scattered into the void. A half-martial ancestor Protoss died on the spot. Dragon roars rang out one after another. The hundreds of divine dragons that came with the dragon phoenix true body transformed into their true forms and charged toward the Protoss without any intention of holding back. The Protoss didn't dare to believe that the dragon phoenix true body issued such an order, but the dragons didn't hesitate at all. In an instant, the dragons rushed into the crowd of Protoss, and a great battle broke out. These Protoss had fought against Qinglian's true body, Extreme Fire, Shura, and the various super sections. They had expended a lot of energy and were injured. The leading divine sons and divine daughters were all dead. Meanwhile, not only were the dragons at their peak condition, but they also overwhelmed the Protoss in terms of numbers. Under Long Tsang's leadership, they crushed the Protoss's camp like a hot knife through butter. Progenitor Heavenly Shaman, Progenitor Golden Flame, Progenitor Tsang Ming, and Progenitor Li Ying frowned slightly and hesitated. The primordial 6 races should have joined forces to fight back in such a situation. However, the patriarch of the Bloodvine race had been absorbed and refined by Qinglian's true body and was long dead. Without a leader, the remaining Bloodvine race did not dare to act rashly. Progenitor Heavenly Shaman and the other 3 exchanged glances and looked at the dragon phoenix true body not far away, not daring to do anything. Araki Takashi, Progenitor Golden Flame said coldly, "You've gone too far. If you're only killing a divine son or divine daughter, the dragons might still be able to protect you. But now that you're killing the Protoss, you'll definitely provoke the Protoss's ancestor god experts. At that time, even the dragons won't be able to protect you." Progenitor Heavenly Shaman also said faintly, With so many Protoss dead, the Protoss will definitely sense it. You're in big trouble. Is that so? The Dragon Phoenix true body sneered. I want to see what kind of person the Protoss will send here. The battle continued. In just half an incense stick's time, the Protoss suffered heavy casualties. Monkey and the others could not hold back any longer when they saw the dragons killing to their heart's content and joined the battlefield with Ling Hu and the others to help the dragons hunt down the Protoss. The cultivators of the various super sects were biding their time, as they were still wary of Lin Fan. Not many people dared to be as fearless as Monkey and the others. All of a sudden, a series of tremendous energy fluctuations came from the skies above Enigma Palace. The void split open and burst forth with a blazing golden light that was blinding and filled with an extremely terrifying aura. The situation on the Protoss's side finally alarmed the other ancestor gods. Two resplendent golden figures walked out from the crack. The one on the left was a gray-haired old man with bright eyes and high spirits. On the right was indeed a middle-aged man with golden hair and green eyes. His handsome face was almost perfect under the illumination of the golden light. Two ancestor gods had descended. Araki Takashi, you're finished. Patriarch Golden Flame looked at the two ancestor gods and sneered. The old man on the left is Patriarch Divine Frost, and the one on the right is Patriarch Battle God. Both of them are at mid-stage Mahayana realm. A mid-stage Mahayana realm expert of the primordial races was equivalent to a perfected Mahayana realm human who had comprehended many great divine powers. In fact, they could even suppress a perfected Mahayana realm human. I warned you earlier, Sky Witch sneered as well. Just now, you've caused a huge disaster. If you stop now, it might still be too late. It's too late for regrets now. Before he could finish his sentence, he saw the Dragon Phoenix true body's figure move. It was already striding toward the two ancestral gods in midair with a murderous aura. What is Araki Takashi trying to do? Sky Witch and the other three patriarchs widened their eyes in shock. Is Araki Takashi crazy? He's actually fighting against two mid-stage Mahayana realm ancestor gods? Even if he's a Dragon Phoenix taboo, he's being too arrogant. How many trump cards does he have? Patriarch Sky Witch and the others sneered in their hearts. Dragons, you're courting death. The elder from the god clan on the left, Ancestor Shin Shuang, took out a huge golden spear from his storage ring. He slammed the spear into the air and let out a loud bang. He let out a loud roar. Take care of yourself first. At this moment, the Dragon Phoenix true body had already descended. He reached out his palm and grabbed at Patriarch Shin Shuang's head. Watch out! Patriarch God Battle God reminded from the side. The storage ring on his finger flashed, and a huge golden sword and a huge golden shield landed on his left and right hands. Die! Patriarch Shin Shuang shook his spear and stabbed at the Dragon Phoenix true body. Patriarch God Battle God also raised his golden sword and slashed at the Dragon Phoenix true body. Freeze! The Dragon Phoenix true body took out the Dragon Soul Saber and slashed in the direction of the two ancestor gods. The saber aura changed instantly in midair and unleashed the sea calming stance. The immobilization art, a minor ability, landed on the two ancestor gods. There was no need for the two ancestor gods to block it. The blood chi in their bodies seemed to have been stimulated and suddenly burst forth, surging violently as their bodies shone with golden light. The immobilization art's power instantly dissipated. The immobilization art had no effect on the two ancestor gods. Clang! The Dragon Soul Saber landed on the golden spear and golden sword. Sparks flew everywhere, and there was an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing. The Dragon Phoenix true body trembled and took half a step back. The Dragon Soul Saber was also sent flying, turning into a stream of light and entering the crowd behind him. Good night? End of chapter. Chapter 1606. You're the Forbidden Dragon Phoenix? Patriarch Shin Shuang chuckled. It's a pity that you've only just entered the Mahayana realm. You're still too inexperienced. Patriarch Shindo's expression darkened as he said coldly, I don't care if you're a Rocky Takashi or the Dragon Phoenix. Since you dare to challenge the might of the Protoss, you must die. Is that so? The Dragon Phoenix True Body's expression was cold as he said with a murderous aura, "Today, I'm going to suppress even the Protoss." Heavenly God descends. The two patriarchs shouted at the same time. Borrowing the ancient divine power, their auras surged and a gigantic phantom appeared behind the two patriarchs. Blood chi surged within the Dragon Phoenix True Body's body as he roared into the sky. An earth-shattering roar burst forth and caused the two patriarchs' ears to ring. The body of the Dragon Phoenix real body expanded rapidly, and crimson scales grew on the surface of its body. He wanted to transform into his Dragon Phoenix form and attack with all his might. Great Seal Technique. All of a sudden, Patriarch Shunshuang's voice sounded. An extremely strange power descended on the Dragon Phoenix True Body. Before the Dragon Phoenix True Body could transform into his human form, he had already transformed back into his human form. The Dragon Phoenix True Body's expression changed. He could clearly feel that the chi and blood in his body were being suppressed, as if they were being sealed by an extremely strange and powerful force. Not only that, the power even surged into his consciousness and wanted to seal his essence spirit. However, it was dispersed by the power of the 11 demon kings in his consciousness and returned without any success. The Great Seal Technique was a type of great mystic power. Once released, it could seal the blood chi and essence spirit of a cultivator, causing their combat strength to decrease greatly. Although the Dragon Phoenix True Body was only at the early stage Mahayana realm, it was a primordial taboo after all. Its blood chi was strong and the Great Seal Technique could not completely seal its blood chi. However, before the power of the Great Mystic Power dissipated, the Dragon Phoenix True Body could not transform into his true form. This had a huge impact on the Dragon Phoenix True Body. The strength and speed of the Dragon Phoenix True Body would decrease and its combat strength would be weakened by at least 30%. A cold smile appeared on Ancestor Shunshuang's aged face. She said, "Little bastard, you are still far from the peak. The taboo realm has yet to reach its peak. It poses no threat to us." The battle god forefathers smiled coldly. The blood chi of the two old ancestors burst forth, instantly arriving in front of the Dragon Phoenix True Body and attacking at the same time. The golden spear slashed out one divine ring after another, tearing the void into pieces. The landing point was difficult to find, and it completely enveloped the Dragon Phoenix True Body. The giant golden sword emitted streaks of divine light. It was dazzling and resplendent as it descended from the sky. It carried with it an unrivaled aura as it slashed down. First, he used God's descent to unleash his own power. Then, he used the Great Sealing Technique to restrict the blood chi of the Dragon Phoenix True Body, making it unable to transform into its true form. As a result, its combat power was greatly reduced. The two of them then joined forces to fight the Dragon Phoenix True Body in close combat. This series of attacks was like moving clouds and flowing water. It was suffocating, and there were almost no flaws to be found. A beam of golden light suddenly flashed by. From the inescapable net weaved by the magical treasures of the two patriarchs, he narrowly flew out. A wave of exclamations sounded from the crowd. Even though the living beings of the 10,000 races were watching the battlefield intently, not many of them could clearly see what was happening just now. By the time everyone reacted, the Dragon Phoenix True Body had already broken free from the attacks of the two patriarchs and stood in midair. On the back of the Dragon Phoenix True Body, there were two pairs of gigantic wings. One pair was scarlet and burned with raging flames. Each time they flapped, two firestorms would be created. The other pair was golden without any impurities. When they spread their wings completely, they were even larger than the Dragon Phoenix's wings and looked powerful. Although the Dragon Phoenix True Body's true form could not be conjured, the Dragon Phoenix wings and extreme speed divine powers could still be released. The Dragon Phoenix True Body was only able to break free from the encirclement of the two patriarchs with the help of the two trump cards. Interesting. The corners of Patriarch Battle God's lips curled up slightly in disapproval. Let's see how many times you can dodge our attacks. Kill. The two patriarchs charged forward once more with divine weapons in hand. The dragon phoenix true body waved its hands and channeled its essence spirit, pointing towards the firmaments. Boom! A loud bang sounded from the skies as an ancient and thick stone pillar descended from above. There was a five-clawed divine dragon coiling around it, suppressing down with endless might. The ancestral dragon divine pillar. The five-clawed divine dragon on the divine pillar suddenly came to life. With a long roar, it broke free from the stone pillar and lunged towards the two Protoss patriarchs. Petty tricks. The patriarch battle god gripped his golden gigantic sword with both hands and slashed down viciously at the incoming stone dragon. Boom! The golden gigantic sword struck the stone dragon's body. Instantly, the stone dragon froze and remained motionless. Cracks appeared on its body and the light in its eyes dimmed as well. Shatter! Patriarch Shuang's gray hair stood on end as she raised her golden spear. As though she was swinging a long rod, she smashed it heavily against the ancestral dragon divine pillar above her. Although Patriarch Shuang was past her prime, she did not look like she was in her twilight years at all. Her blood chi was strong and her divine might was invincible. Rumble! Boom! Almost at the same time, the ancestral dragon divine pillar and stone dragon began to collapse as countless rocks fell. The divine power could no longer be condensed and dissipated rapidly. All of a sudden, a scarlet gold light flashed and the dragon phoenix true body suddenly descended before Patriarch Shuang, hollering softly, "Baron!" Swoosh! Suddenly, a gray ripple burst forth from the dragon phoenix true body's body. Like a wave, it spread in all directions and enveloped Patriarch Shuang and the Patriarch Battle God instantly. Previously, when the dragon phoenix true body was at the conjoint body realm, Baron was released. At the center of Baron, one's lifespan would decrease by 2,000 years in a single breath. Now that the dragon phoenix true body was at the Mahayana realm, the power of Baron increased as well and reached a speed of 8,000 years in a single breath. What did that mean? Enveloped by Baron, 80,000 years of lifespan would be gone in just 10 breaths. It was irreversible. Normally speaking, the lifespan of a human patriarch was only 100,000 years. However, most of them were at least 20,000 to 30,000 years old if they could cultivate to the Mahayana realm. In other words, almost no Mahayana patriarch could last more than 10 breaths under the envelopment of Baron. This Patriarch Shuang was clearly past his peak. This Tao of desolation could cause him great harm. If the dragon phoenix true body could fight with him in Baron for a while, Patriarch Shuang might be exhausted to death. As expected, when Baron descended, the two Protoss patriarchs felt their lifespan decrease sharply and their expressions changed. But soon, the two ancestral gods calmed down. Even Patriarch Shuang's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. So this is Baron? It really lives up to its reputation. Patriarch Shuang murmured softly, "We've already cultivated to the mid-Mahayana realm, but we still can't resist it." After pausing for a moment, Patriarch Shuang continued, "Unfortunately, you've underestimated me. The lifespan of a Protoss is twice that of a human. I look a little old, but I still have 50,000 years of lifespan left. 50,000 years of lifespan is enough to last for 5 to 6 breaths. As for killing you, 3 breaths is enough." Chapter 1607. The Patriarch of the Divine Battle Patriarch was slightly further away. Although he was in Baron, he was not flustered. He was at his peak and had more than 100,000 years of lifespan left. Although Baron reduced his lifespan quickly, it was still within his tolerance range. The Patriarch of the Divine Battle Patriarch swung his golden sword and slashed forward, breaking through the gray ripples before him and closing in on the dragon phoenix true body rapidly. On the other side, Patriarch Shuang wielded her golden spear and stabbed it viciously towards the head of the dragon phoenix true body, arriving instantly. Boom! An extremely powerful energy fluctuation burst forth from within the dragon phoenix true body. A pair of jade-white ivory tusks grew slowly on both sides of his body. As the tusks grew, the power of the dragon phoenix true body increased as well. The two patriarchs frowned slightly. Immediately after, another pair of tusks grew on the side of the dragon phoenix true body. 4 thick and sharp ivory tusks grew out with an extremely terrifying divine power on them. The aura of the dragon phoenix true body rose continuously. It was the innate divine power of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness, 6 tusks divine power. After entering the Mahayana realm, the dragon phoenix true body could release 4 tusks and his strength would increase by 4 times. Although the cultivation of the dragon phoenix true body was still at early stage Mahayana realm, the power released by the 4 tusks was no weaker than any great divine power. The dragon phoenix true body reached out and grabbed Patriarch Shenxuang's spear in his palm. He gripped it tightly and did not budge at all. Patriarch Shenxuang's expression changed slightly. He had not expected that the dragon phoenix true body would be able to match him in strength after releasing that divine power. On the other side, the patriarch of the divine battle patriarch tore through the gray ripples and leaped into the air with his golden sword, slashing down towards the head of the dragon phoenix true body. God's eye. At the same time, 2 golden beams of light burst forth from the patriarch of the divine battle patriarch's eyes that seemed like they could penetrate everything. His visual technique was released. The dragon phoenix true body was prepared. The moment the patriarch of the divine battle patriarch released his visual technique, his eyes shone with a scorching light as well. The eyes of the dragon phoenix true body seemed like 2 blazing suns. The 2 visual techniques collided in midair with a deafening bang, creating a gigantic ball of light that expanded continuously. Boom! The ball of light exploded, dazzling the eyes. Screams and screams could be heard from the crowd. Caught off guard, the myriad beings were blinded by the light. Some of the living beings with lower cultivation levels only felt a stabbing pain in their eyes as tears streamed down their cheeks. They were temporarily blinded. It was hard to imagine what kind of impact the dragon phoenix true body and the battle god ancestor would have to endure at the very center of the battlefield. The battle god old ancestor had thought that with the dragon phoenix true body being tied down by Elder Shenxuang, his attack would be able to kill the dragon phoenix true body on the spot. He did not expect that the dragon phoenix true body's ocular art was actually even stronger than his killing power. In this clash of eye techniques, he was actually at a disadvantage. His eyes were stinging with pain and he could barely open them. Although the cultivation realm of the dragon phoenix true body was low, he had an illumination stone in his eyes and that visual technique had long transformed. Although the battle god forefather had his eyes closed, he was still able to use his divine sense to wield his sword with both hands and slash at the dragon phoenix true form. Suddenly, the battle god forefather frowned slightly. He could sense that before the gigantic golden sword could slash down, the palm of the dragon phoenix true body had already landed on his sword. The strange thing was that the palm was soft and boneless. It wrapped around, coiling, shaking and tugging. The battle god forefather's expression changed drastically. He could clearly feel that the dragon phoenix true body had erupted with an extremely powerful twisting and tearing force. If he continued gripping the gigantic golden sword, his arm would be twisted off. The battle god forefather hesitated for a moment. Instantly his palm was torn apart and fresh blood poured out. The gigantic golden sword flew out of his hand and was snatched away by the dragon phoenix true body. The dragon phoenix true body snatched the gigantic golden sword and threw it at the battle god forefather in midair without even looking at it. The series of ocular arts, sword snatching, and counterattack were flawless and could be said to be perfect. The battle god forefather dove down and the gigantic golden sword had already turned into a golden beam of light that pierced towards him. The dragon phoenix true body's strength had increased by more than 4 times after being baptized by the Six Fangs' divine power. With such a burst of strength, the gigantic golden sword was extremely fast and arrived in an instant. The battle god forefather had no way of dodging at all. Just as the battle god forefather was about to be severely injured by his dermic weapon, He suddenly extended his palm and activated his spirit consciousness. The ring of holding on his hand emitted a blinding light. The gigantic golden sword that was already close to him was actually absorbed by the storage ring on his finger. Su Zimo's counterattack was perfect. The Battle God Forefather's counterattack was also stunning. The Battle God Forefather did not stop and descended. He extended his arm and golden blood surged. With a roar, he threw a punch at the Dragon Phoenix true body. The Dragon Phoenix true body also threw a punch in return. Bang! The fists collided. Flesh and blood and bone collided, producing a terrifying sound that sounded like leather being defeated. The Dragon Phoenix true body shuddered and grunted as he endured the attack. The Battle God Forefather flipped through the air and landed on the ground. Although the Dragon Phoenix true body was slightly at a disadvantage, the Battle God Forefather was secretly shocked. One had to know that the current situation was a joint attack by him and ancestor Shen Shuang. Moreover, the Dragon Phoenix true body's blood was sealed by the Great Sealing Technique and could not transform into his true body. Even so, the two of them could not completely suppress him. One could imagine that if the Dragon Phoenix true body transformed into his true body, he would be at an absolute disadvantage in terms of strength. At this thought, the Battle God Forefather's killing intent surged. He had to kill the Dragon Phoenix true body as soon as possible and not give him any chance. Although the exchange between the two was intense, only a breath of time had passed. Great Darkness Technique. At this moment, ancestor Shen Shuang saw that she could not break through the Dragon Phoenix true body's defense and directly used another Great Mystique. This Great Mystique was extremely famous among the Protoss. It was one of the most powerful Great Mystiques among the Protoss and was on par with the Great Light Technique. A darkness appeared in front of ancestor Shen Shuang's chest and spun continuously, forming a huge dark vortex that could absorb all energy and devour everything. The Great Darkness Technique descended and the Dragon Phoenix true body felt his scalp go numb. He felt a life-and-death crisis. Suddenly, the Dragon Phoenix true body saw another attack and his pupils shrank. The power of desolation that he released, the gray fog and the gray ripples, could not escape the Great Darkness Technique's devouring. The gray fog around ancestor Shen Shuang was completely devoured by the dark vortex. Desolation had been broken. Chapter 1608. The Dragon Phoenix true body was shocked. Even the power of Baron could not defend against the Great Darkness art and was pulled towards the gigantic pitch-black vortex. At the same time, the darkness enveloped the Dragon Phoenix true body. He could clearly sense his blood chi and power of essence spirit being extracted from his body and surging towards the darkness. On the other side, the Patriarch of Divine Battle wielded his gigantic golden sword and charged over once more. If this continued, the Dragon Phoenix true body would be killed by the combined forces of the two Protoss Patriarchs in less than 3 breaths. A cold glint flashed through the eyes of the Dragon Phoenix true body as he gathered his spirit consciousness. Suddenly, a scarlet dragon scale flew out from his glabella. It was palm-sized and crescent-shaped. The moment the dragon scale appeared, the entire void trembled. The world seemed to have fallen into silence. Even the living beings of the myriad races in the distance sensed an extremely terrifying aura from the dragon scale, let alone the two patriarchs of Divine Frost and Divine Battle. The reverse scale of the dragon. The patriarchs of Divine Frost and Divine Battle exchanged glances without hesitation. The two patriarchs condensed their essence spirits right away and released their essence spirit secret skills. 2 golden beams of light burst forth and collided with the dragon scale instantly. Immediately after, the bodies of the patriarchs of Divine Frost and Divine Battle shuddered and they shrieked tragically. Their eyes were bloodshot and they had pained expressions. Blood drained from the faces of the two patriarchs. The Patriarch of Divine Battle stopped in his tracks as well. He frowned and his facial features were contorted, as though he was enduring immense torture. Fine cracks appeared on the essence spirits of the two patriarchs in their consciousnesses. Patriarch Divine Frost's Great Darkness art was almost destroyed. Great Healing Art. The two divine race patriarchs gave a low roar and released a great divine ability once more. When the great divine power descended, a milky white light shone from the bodies of the two Protoss patriarchs with boundless life force. Under the envelopment of the milky white light, their auras stabilized gradually. The dragon phoenix true body frowned slightly, feeling troubled. That was the benefit of comprehending more divine powers. Comprehending an additional divine ability would not only cleanse one's physical body, bloodline, and essence spirit, but also increase one's strength tremendously. It would also allow one to turn danger into safety. If it weren't for this great healing spell, the two Protoss primordial spirits might very well have exploded and died. Wisps of milky white energy encapsulated their primordial spirits in their divine sense, mending the cracks on their primordial spirits for the time being. However, it was extremely difficult to heal such injuries to the primordial spirit. The great healing art could only save the lives of the two ancestors and stabilize their injuries. In other words, although the two Protoss Grandmasters survived, their primordial spirits were severely damaged, and they would not be able to improve their cultivation in the future. Araki Takashi. The divinity patriarch's eyes were filled with endless hatred as he said coldly, "You ruined my cultivation. I will tear you to pieces." He was at his peak and still had a few 100,000 years of lifespan left. If not for this accident, he would definitely reach the late stage of the Great Ascension stage, or even the peak of the Great Ascension stage. He had a high chance of becoming an emperor, and his future was promising. But now, the Dragon Phoenix True Body's reverse scale had cut off his future hope. If he comprehended some peerless divine ability, he might be able to heal the injuries to his primordial spirit. However, the problem was that his primordial spirit had been severely damaged. Not to mention peerless divine abilities, even comprehending a great divine ability was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. "Kill him." Ancestor Shin Shuang narrowed her eyes and said hatefully. He had already passed his peak and only had 50,000 years of lifespan left. However, after being weakened by the barren land and being injured by the reverse scale, he only had 30,000 years of lifespan left. In just a few breaths of time, he had aged a lot. Ancestor Shin Shuang activated the Great Darkness Art and enveloped the Dragon Phoenix True Body. The Dragon Phoenix True Body stood motionless on the spot, looking lost. No one knew what he was thinking, as if he had given up on resisting. Seeing this, Heavenly Shaman Patriarch and the others let out a long sigh of relief. Hee, this Araki Takashi has already missed his last chance to escape. That's right. If Araki Takashi had released the reverse scale and severely injured the two patriarchs, he would definitely have had a chance of escaping. Now it's too late. Even so, this Araki Takashi is indeed terrifying. Two mid-Mahayana Protoss patriarchs almost died with so many great divine abilities. On the battlefield, the Dragon Phoenix True Body naturally would not give up. He had only fallen into a strange state. Ever since he had comprehended the barren land, he had always been successful. This spell ignored one's cultivation level and could reduce one's lifespan infinitely. It was irreversible, and countless experts were wary of it. However, in the end, this barren land was only a spell. The power of barren land had reached the pinnacle of spells. After all, spells could not reach the level of divine abilities. In the battle of the Mahayana realm, Mahayana patriarchs could easily live for tens of thousands of years. Some patriarchs of the primordial races could even live for hundreds of thousands of years. The effect of barren land on them was obviously reduced. Right now, the great divine ability released by Patriarch Divine Frost had devoured the power of barren land. Looking at the barren land that was gradually devoured, a hint of disappointment flashed through the eyes of the Dragon Phoenix True Body. However, he was even more indignant in his heart. Barren land was only a dermic art, and yet it possessed such power that even patriarchs were wary of it. If barren land could advance further and become a divine ability, what kind of power would it unleash? Under such a dangerous situation, all the potential of the Dragon Phoenix True Body was stimulated. All these years, all the insights he had gained from cultivating barren land surged into his mind. Barren land reduced one's lifespan. At the end of the day, it was a release and control of the power of time. Its foundation was to accelerate the flow of time on a cultivator's body. It could cause a cultivator's lifespan to be consumed rapidly in a short period of time. The dragon phoenix true body frowned. One after another, insights spiraled in his mind, and he was almost about to break through that barrier and enter another level of power. However, he could not break through that barrier in the end. It was not that easy to comprehend a divine ability. Many cultivators might not be able to grasp a divine ability even after hundreds or thousands of years of comprehension and accumulation. Something's still missing. In a flash, the brain of the dragon phoenix true body spun rapidly as he recalled everything he had learned in his life. It was as though scenes flashed before his eyes. All of a sudden, a thought flashed through the mind of the dragon phoenix true body. Instantly, he seemed to have returned to the Tao inheritance ground and sat cross-legged beside the stone statue of half-martial ancestor Instant. That was where he entered the void reversion realm. That was where he received the inheritances of more than 30 stone statues and deduced Wu Dao. Around the stone statue, the flow of time became extremely fast. Cultivating there for a year was equivalent to a day outside. Actually, this was also a power of the passage of time. It didn't matter if you were a Tao Lord or a Tao Lord, no one could beat the passage of time or escape old age. Time was the fairest to the living beings of the 10,000 races. Chapter 1609. Something's not right. Patriarch Golden Flames looked at the dragon phoenix true body on the battlefield and suddenly remarked, "This state." Patriarch Heavenly Witchcraft frowned slightly in deep thought. After pondering for a moment, he exclaimed, "Epiphany! Araki Takashi is having an epiphany." His voice caused an uproar. Nobody expected the dragon phoenix true body to enter an epiphany in such an intense battle. The state of epiphany was extremely rare and could only be chanced upon. In such a state, a cultivator's perception would become extremely sharp and they would be able to comprehend many deeper things. However, the moment it was destroyed, the state would vanish. Right now, the dragon phoenix true body's life was hanging by a thread. No matter how rare the state of epiphany was, he should give up and turn to escape immediately. Patriarch Liang sneered, "He truly doesn't know what's good for him. Is he still hoping to comprehend some divine power to reverse the situation?" Right then, under everyone's gaze, the confusion in the eyes of the dragon phoenix true body dissipated and clarity returned. The dragon phoenix true body extended both of his hands. Between his palms, a ball of gray mist surged and did not dissipate. As the dragon phoenix true body pulled his hands apart, the gray mist gradually elongated and condensed into a gray saber. For some reason, all the patriarchs present felt their hearts skip a beat when they saw the gray saber and their expressions changed. Nobody knew what the gray saber was. However, all the Mahayana patriarchs wanted to stay as far away from the gray saber as possible. An extremely terrifying divine power burst forth from the dragon phoenix true body, forming a storm that surged through his organs and meridians, cleansing his body, blood chi and essence spirit. The power of the great sealing skill within the dragon phoenix true body dissipated instantly against the baptism of the divine power storm. It was as though shackles had shattered and the dragon phoenix true body broke free from the seal completely. That's a great divine power. Patriarch Heavenly Witchcraft's pupils constricted and his voice trembled. The power of that great divine power caused Patriarch Heavenly Witchcraft and the others to shudder. What divine power is that? I don't know. I've never seen a great divine power with a gray saber. The Mahayana patriarchs present conversed rapidly. I don't care what divine power it is. Patriarch Shuang pushed her essence spirit to the limit and shouted ferociously, "Under the shroud of darkness, all of you shall be annihilated." The huge black vortex enveloped the dragon phoenix true body. Time is. The dragon phoenix real body looked indifferent. With a soft groan, the gray saber in his hand flew out and slashed at the dark vortex in front of him. The gray saber, ignoring the power, the vortex, penetrating through the vortex of darkness. Be it darkness or light, nothing could stop the passage of time. Elder Shen Shuang's expression changed. She wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The gray saber landed directly on his body. My life! Shen Shuang. But soon, Ancestor Shen Shuang realized that he was not hurt at all. The gray long blade landed on his body, but he did not feel anything. His body did not even sway, and there was not a single wound on his body. Ancestor Shen Shuang suddenly laughed and said excitedly, "Ha! I'm fine." Cough, cough, cough. Perhaps because she was laughing too fast, Elder Shen Shuang coughed twice and looked at the dragon phoenix's real body mockingly. She mocked, "I thought it was some great spell. I didn't expect it to be a joke." Ha! The dragon phoenix's true body did not laugh. He just looked at Shen Shuang's true body. None of the creatures of the myriad races laughed. Unknowingly, the surrounding crowd had suddenly become extremely quiet. Shen Shuang's true body's laughter was extremely strange in this quiet environment. After laughing for a while, Shen Shuang's true body realized that something was wrong. She looked around. All the living beings of the myriad races were looking at him with complicated gazes. There was fear, shock, mockery, and pity. "What are you looking at?" Shen Shuang's true body shouted, panting slightly. For some reason, after laughing for a while, she felt short of breath. "Shen Shuang, your face." At this moment, Shen Shuang's true body pointed at Shen Shuang's true body's face. His voice was filled with fear. The gray saber descended. There was indeed no wound on Shen Shuang's true body. However, his originally grayish-white hair was now completely white. Originally, there were only some wrinkles on his face. But now, these wrinkles had multiplied by several times. It was as if time had carved scars on his face. In an instant, Shen Shuang's true body had become an old man in his twilight years. His qi and blood had declined and he was lethargic. His life aura had also become very weak. Even laughing for a while made him gasp for breath. His primordial spirit was not even enough to support the great darkness technique. This great divine power had collapsed before it could descend on the dragon phoenix's true body. How could this be? How could this be? Shen Shuang's true body's eyes widened. Feeling the little lifespan left in her body, she roared hysterically. When she came to Enigma Palace, she only had 50,000 years of lifespan left. Her lifespan had been reduced by the barren land and she had been severely injured by the reverse scale. Just now, she only had 30,000 years of lifespan left. But now, she only had a few thousand years of lifespan left. A few thousand years of lifespan seemed long. However, for a Mahayana patriarch who had a lifespan of 100,000 years, it was already in his twilight years. An entire 30,000 years of lifespan disappeared into thin air in an instant. To be precise, it did not disappear out of thin air. Instead, it was taken away by the gray saber. With that slash, 30,000 years of lifespan was gone. Even the patriarchs of the primordial races could not withstand the impact of such a great divine power, let alone the human patriarchs. Patriarch Shen Shuang suddenly recalled the words the dragon phoenix's true body said when it released the divine power. Time was like a saber. That was the power of time. Time was the cruelest and no one could resist it. Most of the living beings of the myriad races cultivated to live forever, to live as long as the heavens and the earth, and to live eternally. But since ancient times, who could escape the passage of time? How can you control such power? Patriarch Shen Shuang's voice trembled uncontrollably. It was hoarse and filled with fear. Immediately after, her eyes widened and her pupils constricted. Gray mist surged between the hands of the dragon phoenix's true body and condensed into a gray saber that was identical to the one just now. Time is like a saber. The dragon phoenix's true body threw the gray saber in its hand at Patriarch Shen Shuang and murmured, "Every saber urges one to age." The gray saber crossed the void and instantly descended on Patriarch Shen Shuang's body, disappearing into it. That slash lasted for 30,000 years. Patriarch Shen Shuang's lifespan of less than 10,000 years withered instantly. Every saber urges one to age. That was the last thing Patriarch Shen Shuang heard. In the next moment, under the gazes of many living beings, Patriarch Shen Shuang's withered corpse fell from midair. Like a withered leaf, it fell and withered. Chapter 1610. The entire Enigma Palace was silent. The mid-stage Mahayana patriarch of the primordial races was killed by the dragon phoenix true body just like that. With 2 slashes, his lifespan of tens of thousands of years was exhausted instantly. That great divine power unleashed the cruelty of time to its limits. The patriarch of the divine battle patriarch's figure flashed and his blood chi burst forth. In the blink of an eye, he arrived before the dragon phoenix true body and raised his gigantic golden sword, slashing it down. The patriarch of the divine battle patriarch knew that he could not allow the dragon phoenix true body to continue releasing that great divine power. Although he still had more than 100,000 years of lifespan, if he allowed the dragon phoenix true body to release the time saber divine power, he would not be able to survive after a few slashes. Even a single slash was an unbearable injury for him, let alone a few slashes. A single slash was equivalent to 30,000 years. Truly, time was like a saber that aged people with every slash. However, the patriarch of the divine battle patriarch was extremely experienced in battle and had sharp judgment. He could tell that although the great divine power was terrifying, it was not without flaws. Each time the great divine power was condensed, it could only conjure a single time saber. There was a short gap in between. In other words, as long as he could give the dragon phoenix true body sufficient pressure in melee combat and prevent it from releasing that great divine power, he would be invincible. Therefore, the patriarch of the divine battle patriarch did not escape. Instead, he closed in and his blood chi surged. Golden lights burst forth from his body with a torrential aura as he chose to fight the dragon phoenix true body in melee combat. However, the patriarch of the divine battle patriarch missed out on something. After comprehending that great divine power, the dragon phoenix true body experienced the baptism of the divine power storm, and the power of the great sealing art within his body had already vanished. The power of the dragon phoenix true body's physique, blood chi and essence spirit increased exponentially. Furthermore, he could transform into his dragon phoenix true body at any time to fight the patriarch of the divine battle patriarch. Slash. The gigantic golden sword slashed down. The dragon phoenix true body did not dodge. His gaze intensified and he suddenly extended his arm. While the arm was still in midair, a series of crackling noises could be heard. In an instant, it expanded by several feet and became thick and ferocious. The protruding muscles on his arms were like numerous spiritual snakes. Instantly, crimson dragon scales grew on them, as if they were pieces of burnt iron. His palm had also transformed into a sharp and gigantic dragon phoenix claw. Clang. The dragon phoenix claw directly grabbed the huge golden sword in its palm, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Even the sharpness of the gigantic golden sword could not break through the scales of the dragon phoenix. Patriarch Battle God instinctively retreated, trying to pull back his golden greatsword. The war god forefather's expression flickered. The golden greatsword was tightly gripped by the dragon and phoenix claws, and it did not move at all. Even when he unleashed all of his strength, he still could not pull out the golden greatsword. The two of them were so close that they began to wrestle with each other. Neither of them was willing to let go. The dragon phoenix true body's eyes were cold as he stared at the battle god forefather. The dragon phoenix true body's claws blazed with flames. The golden greatsword seemed to be in great pain, and it began to tremble slightly, emitting a sword hum. The golden light on the sword began to dim. Not only that, the body of the sword was emitting rays of red light. When the creatures of the 10,000 races looked over, their mouths all widened in shock. Under the burning of the dragon phoenix flames, the body of this huge golden sword gradually turned red. It was almost transparent and emitted a scorching heat that spread towards the sword hilt. The sword hilt also began to turn red. Sizzle! Sizzle! The war god forefather's palm was scalded and white smoke rose. The war god forefather's expression was menacing as he widened his eyes and endured the pain, unwilling to let go. However, the power of the dragon phoenix true body rose continuously and the temperature of the dragon phoenix flames increased as well, causing the sword hilt to burn even more. Eventually, the war god forefather could not endure it any longer and released his grip. Humph! The dragon phoenix true body sneered and snatched the golden greatsword away. Gripping the fiery red sword hilt, it slashed down towards the war god forefather viciously. The war god forefather raised the golden shield in his left hand hurriedly and blocked in front of him. Boom! The golden greatsword landed on the giant shield, and a deafening sound erupted. The golden greatsword was already scorched red by the dragon phoenix flames and was extremely weak to begin with. Now that it collided with the gigantic shield, it shattered into pieces that splattered everywhere. The war god forefather shuddered as though he was struck by lightning. The power of the dragon phoenix true body was clearly much stronger than just now and he could not defend against it. All of a sudden, the war god forefather's expression changed starkly. He finally realized that the sealing art within the dragon phoenix true body had disappeared and it could revert to its true form. At that time, its combat strength would rise once more. Suddenly, a huge shadow appeared above the war god forefather's head. The temperature around him rose rapidly. It was as though he had fallen into a gigantic volcano and was about to be melted by the raging flames around him. The war god forefather looked up instinctively. Above the firmaments, a powerful living being that burned with raging flames was looking down at him. It had the head of a dragon and the tail of a phoenix with 2 pairs of wings on its back. Beneath the wings, one could vaguely make out 4 ivory tusks that were as white as jade. Those eyes were chilling and looked at him as though he was an ant. There was no emotion in them at all. The taboo dragon phoenix. Although the war god forefather was at the mid-stage Mahayana realm, he felt his heart shudder when the dragon phoenix true body descended. He felt insignificant. This was an absolute suppression in terms of bloodline. Even though the Protoss's roots were not on this continent, the Protoss could still feel a deep sense of fear against the taboo. The dragon phoenix real body swooped down, its huge body bringing with it a terrifying forbidden aura. The war god forefather had nowhere to run and could only raise the golden shield in front of him again. Boom! There was a huge explosion. The war god forefather crashed into the ground like a meteor, creating a huge crater. The giant golden shield was also sent flying by the dragon phoenix true body. No one knew where it ended up. The war god forefather's bones felt like they were about to break apart as he struggled to climb out of the crater. At this moment, a crimson shadow loomed over him. Boom! The dragon phoenix true body descended and pressed its claws against the war god forefather's body. Sharp claws instantly pierced through the war god forefather's body, causing blood to gush out. Ah! The war god forefather screamed as his body trembled in pain. Each claw was like a burning iron hook that pierced into his body. The scorching flames were constantly destroying his life force. The battle god forefather continued to struggle as he screamed in agony. Noisy! The dragon phoenix true body's voice was filled with boundless majesty. The dragon phoenix true body lowered its head and suddenly opened its mouth to spit out a stream of crimson lava that poured down on the war god forefather's head. Rip! The boiling lava instantly flooded the crater and the war god forefather's body, causing smoke to rise. The war god forefather's screams came to an abrupt end. Not long after, his aura completely disappeared in the lava. Not even his corpse was left. At this point in the battle, the 2 Protoss mid-stage Mahayana true body descended and were both killed by the dragon phoenix true body. The remaining Protoss were no longer a threat and fled in all directions. Heavenly Shaman Patriarch and the others saw this scene and turned pale with fright. They knew very well that these Protoss were finished. They were all wiped out. Chapter 1611. Patriarch Witchcraft exchanged glances with the other 4 and felt a sense of lingering fear. When the dragon phoenix true body descended, they were still thinking about how to join forces and suppress it. Now that they thought about it, that thought was way too laughable and crazy. Just now, if they insisted on attacking the Dragon Phoenix true body, they would probably be 4 corpses by now. Did you guys sense that Araki Takashi is extremely hostile towards the Protoss? Patriarch Liang asked with a voice transmission. Patriarch Witchcraft nodded. I sensed it. Just now, Araki Takashi said something similar as well. He can negotiate with us, but he won't negotiate with the Protoss. That's a little strange. Patriarch Song Ming frowned slightly. Araki Takashi has a feud with the primordial 6 races. Why would he target the Protoss like that? I'm not sure. We can no longer make the decision for this convention, Patriarch Golden Flame said. I've already informed the clan leader to come and preside over this matter. Patriarch Witchcraft and the others had already informed their respective clan leaders to come as well. There were not many Protoss left in Enigma Palace, and they were only fighting like trapped beasts. The death of the 2 patriarchs, Xin Shuang and Xin Zhuang, was an even more devastating blow for the Protoss. The Dragon Phoenix true body did not help. Even if dragons were injured or even dead, he ignored them. Blood and life and death were for the dragons to experience. This was the best training for the dragons. All these years, the dragons had never come out of the Dragon Bone Valley, and it was difficult to determine life and death in the sparring within the race. Without experiencing life and death and the baptism of blood, those dragons would never truly grow. As for the Protoss of Enigma Palace, he was their whetstone. The Dragon Phoenix true body did not reveal the truth of the primordial war. Even if he said it now, no one would believe him. That was because his understanding of the primordial war was only limited to the simple information transmitted by Qinglian's true body. The Dragon Phoenix true body did not know the details at all and had no evidence. If he said it now, it would not be convincing at all. It would only attract the doubts and ridicule of the other primordial races. After all, the truth was too shocking, too horrifying, and completely unimaginable. Besides, even if Heavenly Witchcraft Ancestor and the others believed him, it would be useless. At this point of the convention of the myriad races, Patriarch Heavenly Shaman and the others no longer had any right to speak and could not make any decisions for the primordial races. It was only when the true experts of the primordial 6 races descended and Qinglian's true body revealed the truth that the situation could be changed and settled. Moreover, if he said it now, he might alert the enemy. At this moment, on the battlefield, the green and translucent Fortune Qinglian emitted rays of multicolored light and swayed gently. On the lotus platform, the aura of Qinglian's true body gradually stabilized. The second tribulation of Taoism's 3 great calamities, the Earth Fiend Fire Tribulation, had been safely passed. Qinglian's true body was rapidly recovering from her injuries and regaining her vitality. It was clear that the Earth Fiend Fire Tribulation did not have much of an impact on Qinglian's true body. With just a slight rest, Qinglian's true body had already recovered to its peak condition and her blood qi was strong with boundless vitality. The malevolent spirit is truly worthy of being a natural wonder. Not only did Araki Takashi survive the Earth Fiend Fire Tribulation safely after consuming the malevolent spirit fruit, he wasn't injured at all. That's for sure. Most of the power of the Earth Fiend Fire was neutralized by the power of the malevolent spirit fruit. The remaining bit of power is of no threat to Araki Takashi. More importantly, the better one's condition after the Earth Fiend Fire Tribulation, the higher the chances of surviving the final 5 heavenly tribulations. The malevolent spirit fruit is way too important for us half-martial ancestors. If anyone has the malevolent spirit fruit, I'll even work for them. A half-martial ancestor murmured softly. There were many half-martial ancestors who had the same thought. That was because if they could not transcend the divine power tribulation, they would only have 20,000 years of lifespan. If they failed to transcend the tribulation, they might even die. However, if they had the help of the malevolent spirit fruit, they could advance to the Mahayana realm successfully and their lifespans would increase to 100,000 years. That was way too attractive for half-martial ancestors. Rumble. Boom. Right then, thunder rumbled from the skies. It was deep and powerful, as though it was ringing in the hearts of all living beings, causing their hearts to tremble. Elsewhere, the skies were clear. However, dark clouds filled the skies above Enigma Palace and gathered rapidly. The rumbling clouds seemed like they were splashed with ink. The final tribulation of the three Taoist calamities is here. Someone exclaimed softly. The final tribulation was the thunder tribulation. It was not an ordinary heavenly thunder. It was the five elements divine thunder, metal element divine thunder, wood element divine thunder, water element divine thunder, fire element divine thunder, and earth element divine thunder. The so-called five elements divine thunder referred to the five elements divine thunder. Since ancient times, countless half-martial ancestors had died to the five elements divine lightning. If one could not transcend the final tribulation, their souls would dissipate. The dark clouds pressed down and darkened. Streaks of lightning shone within them and emitted a suffocating might. Creation Qinglian stood upright and soared into the skies. Beneath the dark clouds and enveloped by lightning, there was no hint of fear as she flickered with life. Snip. A gigantic bolt of lightning descended with a blazing black luster. It was bedazzling and seemed as though it wanted to penetrate all living beings. Blooming water divine thunder. Among the five elements divine thunders, the strength was different and the blooming water divine thunder was relatively gentle. The divine thunder struck down heavily on Su Zimo's head and his body shuddered involuntarily as streaks of lightning shone on his body. There was even a hint of mist mixed within the lightning. The flesh of Qinglian's true body exploded instantly and burst forth into a blood mist. Cracks appeared on the surface of her skin. Even the softest blooming water divine thunder could release such a terrifying power. The living beings of the 10,000 races were secretly alarmed. Su Zimo grit his teeth and endured it without batting an eyelid. Before long, the lightning on Qinglian's true body dissipated gradually. Snip. Another clap of thunder rang out. The five elements divine thunder did not give Su Zimo any time to recuperate and struck down with the second divine thunder. The five elements divine thunders struck one after another without any chance to breathe. The five elements coexisted and water was wood. The second divine thunder was the wood divine thunder. When the divine thunder descended, Su Zimo stood up from the creation lotus platform. His black hair danced wildly as he reared his head and roared into the skies, as though he was declaring war against the five elements divine thunder. The wood divine thunder struck Su Zimo's body with lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. However, right in front of everyone, Su Zimo's aura did not weaken at all. Instead, it was rising rapidly. The wounds on Su Zimo's body healed at a visible speed. Not only did the divine thunder not cause any damage to Qinglian's true body, the power it contained was instead absorbed by the Qinglian's true body. The creation Qinglian beneath Su Zimo shone brightly. A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. Throughout history, countless half-martial ancestors had transcended tribulations. However, such a situation had never happened before. Someone exclaimed, "I've got it." The green lotus of creation was a god among plants and vegetation. The wood divine lightning was unable to suppress it. Instead, it became nourishment for it. As expected of the creation Qinglian. It can even devour the wood divine thunder. End of chapter. Chapter 1612. Not only did the descent of the wood divine thunder fail to severely injure Su Zimo, it even nourished him and the creation Qinglian beneath him. The injuries caused by the Gui water divine thunder to Qinglian's true body healed completely under the nourishment of the wood divine thunder. However, Su Zimo's aura was rising continuously. Before long, the wood divine thunder was completely absorbed by the Qinglian's true body. Be it in terms of condition or strength, she had already reached her peak. The third divine thunder descended. Wood breeds fire. The third was the fire divine thunder. If the Gui water divine thunder was considered the weaker of the five elements divine thunders, the fire divine thunder was one of the strongest of the five elements divine thunders. Furthermore, the fire divine thunder was even more harmful to the plant race. Snip. A scarlet thunderbolt descended from the dark clouds and landed on Su Zimo's body. Swoosh. Instantly, Su Zimo's body was enveloped by scarlet thunderbolts and even burned with raging flames. His figure was faintly discernible within the fire divine thunder. The living beings of the 10,000 races could see clearly that Su Zimo's flesh was already lacerated by the fire divine thunder. Before blood flowed out, it had already evaporated into ashes. Su Zimo trembled slightly and frowned with a pained expression. Even the aura of the creation Qinglian was suppressed by the fire divine thunder. However, right from the beginning, Su Zimo did not make a single sound. His aura continued to weaken. In the end, he was even drowned in the fire divine thunder and almost disappeared. The experts of the primordial 6 races had conflicted expressions when they saw that. They knew very well that Su Zimo was at his weakest right now. Any conjoint body mighty figure or even the Dharma Daojun could severely injure him and kill him. However, the experts of the primordial 6 races stole glances at the other powerful figure in midair. That figure had scarlet hair that resembled flames and a burning gaze, exuding a violent and scorching might. With the dragon phoenix true body around, no one dared to act rashly. When the dragon phoenix real body saw the scene, his expression did not change. He had no intention of making a move. This kind of tribulation had to rely on one's own strength. If others were to interfere, it would only bring about an even more terrifying disaster. Su Zimo remained motionless in the midst of the huge lightning and fire. His qi and blood surged, producing a huge amount of vitality to heal his injuries and fight against the fire divine thunder. The fire divine thunder continued to destroy, burn, and destroy. Qinglian's true body was constantly being repaired, nourished, and healed. After repeated tugs and confrontations, Qinglian's true body became even purer and more flawless. Moreover, the self-healing ability of Qinglian's true body had also become stronger and more terrifying. Finally, the fire divine thunder dissipated. On the lotus platform of good fortune, Su Zimo was completely unrecognizable. He had been burned into a human-shaped charcoal by the fire divine lightning. Suddenly, above this human-shaped charcoal, 2 beams of divine light burst forth. Those were Su Zimo's eyes. Su Zimo opened his eyes. Along with that slight action, the charcoal on his body gradually fell off. The dead skin retreated and the rotten flesh turned into ashes, revealing a layer of fair and tender skin. Like a newborn baby, there was even a faint fragrance on his body. Su Zimo's body shone with a jade-green luster that was crystal clear and flawless. His body was like the true creation Qinglian. The 4th divine thunder descended with a golden glow. Fire birthed earth. That was the earth divine thunder. When the golden lightning descended, Su Zimo shuddered and felt an unbearable pressure that was almost suffocating. Even the green lotus of creation beneath him seemed to be unable to withstand the pressure and bent its body slightly. This earth divine lightning contained an extremely terrifying aura. It was as though Su Zimo was not enduring a single divine thunder, but the entire world, thick, vast, endless, and boundless. Su Zimo's body gradually bent. Against that immense pressure, he had no choice but to lower his head and bend his back. He was bending. The creation Qinglian beneath him was bending as well. The power of the earth divine lightning did not stop. It seemed to be endless. The divine thunder was not only going to crush his body, it was going to crush him and make him kneel down before heaven and earth. If he was crushed, it would mean that the creation Qinglian beneath him would be crushed as well. Su Zimo and the creation Qinglian had long become one and were inseparable. They were bound together for good or ill. The earth divine thunder took longer than the 3 divine thunders just now combined. Furthermore, Su Zimo could clearly sense that the power in his body was still increasing. All of a sudden, a thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind. The earth was thick, vast, and unstoppable. The earth could crack and devour all living beings. The earth could collapse and bury all living beings. However, the earth could also contain all living beings and nurture life. The power of the earth was enough to destroy everything. However, even the weakest blade of grass could break out of the ground and grow healthily. With that flash of spirit light, Su Zimo suddenly felt as though the pressure on his body had lessened. Right in front of the living beings of the 10,000 races, Su Zimo's body gradually straightened for some unknown reason. The creation Qinglian beneath him began to grow as well. They were like a Qinglian that had broken out of the ground, bursting with vitality, and their auras reached their peak. Snuff. Thunder boomed once more. The fifth divine thunder descended. Earth gave birth to metal. Metal was mainly used for killing. The metal element divine thunder was the strongest of the 5 elements divine thunders. It could penetrate all living beings, and its killing power was at its limits. A blazing bolt of lightning descended with a bedazzling white light and landed on Su Zimo's head instantly. Suddenly, Su Zimo's body stiffened and he remained motionless. Bang! Immediately after, right in front of everyone, Su Zimo's body exploded into a blood mist that dyed half the skies red. Araki Takashi has failed his tribulation transcendence. The metal element divine thunder is still strong. It even shattered the Qinglian's true body. The crowd was in an uproar and exclamations could be heard. The experts of the primordial 6 races heaved a sigh of relief. Although they did not say anything, their eyes could not conceal the joy. Su Zimo's Qinglian's true body was a huge threat to them as well. Nobody knew what kind of combat strength Qinglian's true body would possess once it entered the Mahayana realm. Something's not right. Patriarch Heavenly Witchcraft's spirit consciousness was extremely strong and sharp as he frowned. Araki Takashi isn't dead. Right then, the blood mist above the creation Qinglian gradually gathered. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo's Qinglian's true body condensed once more. Su Zimo reared his head and roared into the skies as rays of light burst forth from his body. Along with his roar, the creation Qinglian seemed to have sensed something as well and soared into the skies. Its gigantic lotus leaves danced and its lotus platform swayed. The dark clouds that hovered above Su Zimo's head were shattered by the creation Qinglian and dispersed gradually. The divine power tribulation was cleared safely. The aura within Su Zimo's body seemed to have broken through some sort of barrier and was rising rapidly as well. He broke free from the shackles of heaven and earth once more, and his lifespan increased exponentially. The Qinglian's true body had entered the Mahayana realm. Su Zimo assumed a lotus position and did not leave immediately. He had just entered the Mahayana realm and had to continue cultivating and comprehending to stabilize his cultivation realm. The moment their essence spirits were exposed, they were destroyed and drowned by the vast spirit consciousness of Wu Dao's main body. The half-martial ancestor Wu Dao's main body could suppress those Dao Lord mighty figures just by releasing his spirit consciousness. Sect Protection Formation, activate. Right then, a deep and dignified voice sounded from the depths of a mountain peak in Heavenly Dipper Sect. Bush, bush, bush. The 36 peaks swayed and burst forth with bedazzling starlight that converged into a single point in midair. At the same time, stars appeared in daytime in the firmaments. The true 36 Heavenly Dipper stars appeared and shone with starlight that landed in the void of Heavenly Dipper Sect. The formation connected to heaven and earth. Ancient and massive stars condensed around Wu Dao's main body with a terrifying might. The formation seemed to have manifested the true stars in the firmaments. In fact, even the void seemed to be unable to withstand the pressure and trembled continuously, letting out strange sounds as though it was wailing. The 2 half-martial ancestors beside the Heavenly Dipper Sect's half-martial ancestor attacked one after another as well, releasing dermic arts that descended. There was even a wisp of divine power mixed in with those dermic arts. The 3 half-martial ancestors also knew that they had encountered a formidable enemy. Therefore, they released their trump cards the moment they attacked without probing and released their full strength. Fu, Wu Dao's original body chuckled. That chuckle was filled with extreme disdain. Wu Dao's original body did not stop in his tracks. Instead, he suddenly reached out and grabbed forward. With such a simple action, the The martial arts executed by the three half-martial progenitors exploded in the air before they could land on Qin Nan. It was as though Wu Dao's original body had destroyed the dermic arts of the three half-martial ancestors through the void. At the same time, the destiny dermic weapons of the three half-martial ancestors seemed to be attracted by something as two flying swords and a heavy sword gathered and charged towards the palm of Wu Dao's original body. The expressions of the three half-martial ancestors changed. At that moment, they had already lost control of their destiny dermic weapons. In the blink of an eye, the three destiny dermic weapons landed in the palm of Wu Dao's original body. Suddenly, Wu Dao's original body clenched his palm. Crack, crack, crack. A bone-chilling cracking sound could be heard from his palm. Right in front of everyone, the three half-martial ancestor dermic weapons were shattered by the palm of Wu Dao's original body into countless tiny shards. Those were connate half-martial ancestor dermic weapons that were fused with a wisp of divine power. But now, they were shattered into pieces by Wu Dao's original body barehanded. That was not the end. Wu Dao's original body gripped the shards in his palm and rubbed them gently with both hands. The shards were kneaded into a fist-sized metal ball by Wu Dao's original body. Wu Dao's original body rubbed his hands and the metal ball scattered like quicksand. Gulp, gulp. A series of gulping sounds could be heard from the crowd, turning metal into mud. Even Elder Zhanlong and the other 5 half-martial ancestors were scared out of their wits, let alone the low-level cultivators of Heavenly Dipper sect. What kind of power would be able to do this? While the 6 half-martial ancestors were shocked, Wu Dao's original body had already arrived before the half-martial ancestor of Heavenly Dipper sect. He extended his finger and tapped the person's glabella gently. Instantly, a bloody hole appeared on the glabella of the half-martial ancestor of Heavenly Dipper sect. Fresh blood flowed and his essence spirit was destroyed. After insulting Wu Dao's original body, that person did not even live for more than 10 breaths before he was killed by a single finger from Wu Dao's original body. The martial Dao true body slapped the other half-martial ancestor's face with a backhand. Poof! The half-martial ancestor's head exploded from a single slap from Wu Dao's original body. His essence spirit exploded and he died. Wu Dao's original body had already vanished from the spot without a single drop of blood on him as he arrived before the third half-martial ancestor. The half-martial ancestor of Heavenly Dipper sect snapped out of his stupor and roared in immense fear. He dug out a bunch of protection talismans from his storage bag. All of them were torn apart. A series of light barriers appeared on the body of the half-martial ancestor of Heavenly Dipper sect. Wu Dao's original body ignored those protection talismans. He threw a punch. Those protection talismans? Against the fist of Wu Dao's original body, they were as though they were made of paper. Almost without any obstruction, Wu Dao's original body punched the half-martial ancestor. The tremendous force turned the half-martial ancestor's body into dust and his essence spirit was destroyed. A single finger, a single palm and a single punch. 3 half-martial ancestors of Heavenly Dipper sect were dead. The 3 half-martial ancestors of Heavenly Dipper sect stood on the spot, completely dumbfounded. Just now, they were slightly further away and hesitated for a moment. Before they could attack, the 3 half-martial ancestors were already dead. At that moment, half-martial ancestor Zhanlong and the other 2 were so scared that they did not dare to move, let alone attack Wu Dao's original body. The massive crowd of Heavenly Dipper sect cultivators fell silent out of fear as well. End of Chapter 1. Most of the cultivators and disciples of Heavenly Dipper sect might not know that the sect master, patriarch, and the others had already chosen to submit to the primordial 6 races. There was no need to punish ordinary cultivators of Heavenly Dipper sect because of that. Elder Zhanlong, what should we do? A half-martial ancestor looked at the departing back view of Wu Dao's original body and frowned. Hurry and inform the sect master. If that person really takes away all the cultivation techniques and secret skills of the sect, it'll be equivalent to a sect-destroying calamity. Let's wait a little longer, Elder Zhanlong said in a deep voice. The sect master and many patriarchs are participating in the convention of the 10,000 races at Enigma Palace. I'm afraid they won't be able to free themselves. Pausing for a moment, Elder Zhanlong sneered and looked at the library of Tiankui Peak. He sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. Do you really think that there aren't any patriarchs guarding this important place of our sect? The half-martial ancestor at the side exclaimed and shut up hurriedly, sending a voice transmission secretly. Shouldn't Mahayana patriarchs stay in the ancient battlefield to comprehend divine powers? Why are they guarding the sect? There's a Mahayana patriarch guarding the sect? Why didn't I know about it before? The other half-martial ancestor was shocked as well. Elder Zhanlong laughed strangely. You guys have seen that person before as well. We've seen him before. The two half-martial ancestors were even more shocked. Elder Zhanlong raised his head slightly and looked at the library. He's in the library. Library? A half-martial ancestor's expression changed as he probed. That's Elder's son? Isn't he a conjoint body mighty figure? Elder Zhanlong glanced at that person. Do you think that anyone is qualified to guard an important place like the library? Elder's son was a Mahayana patriarch a long time ago. His lifespan is almost up, and even if he stays in the ancient battlefield, he won't be able to comprehend anything. As such, he returned to the sect and chose to guard the library. The other two half-martial ancestors were enlightened. Elder Zhanlong crossed his arms and gloated. When that mysterious person enters the library, he'll discover that there's a huge surprise waiting for him inside. Heavenly Dipper Sect's library was located on Tiankui Peak of the 36 main peaks. The library was extremely ancient and was 100 feet tall. There were a total of 7 floors, and it was filled with ancient books and secret skills that had been passed down for a long time. Wu Dao's true body arrived before the library and pushed open the door without hesitation. The moment the door opened, an ancient aura surged out. Wu Dao's true body entered the library and his figure disappeared into the darkness. The door behind him closed slowly and he vanished from the sight of Elder Zhanlong and the others. Wu Dao's true body entered the first level of the library and was in no hurry to walk around. Surveying the hall, his gaze landed on a dark corner. Cough, cough. At this moment, a hoarse cough came from this dark corner. Someone seemed to be standing up slowly from the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust as he walked out of the darkness. It was an old man with white hair and a white beard. He was not tall and was skinny with a hunched back. He could only reach the waist of Wu Dao's true body at most. The old man held a bare and curved wooden staff in his hands and staggered forward. His head was lowered and his messy hair hung in front of his forehead as he panted slightly. I don't read books. Wu Dao's true body looked at the old man and said with a fake smile, I want to take away all the books here. The old man sighed. Young people are truly too greedy. If you really want to read through these ancient books, you can come at any time. However, if you want to take them away, you won't be able to take them all alone. Young man, listen to my advice. If you have such a huge appetite, you'll die. Wu Dao's true body smiled gently. Old man, let me give you a piece of advice as well. You're already old and should enjoy your later years in peace. Meddling in other people's business can lead to death as well. End of chapter. That secret skill was obtained from the storage bag of half-martial ancestor Glorious Elephant by Wu Dao's true body. The reason why the star-plucking hand was the strongest secret skill of Heavenly Dipper Sect was not only because it was powerful. More than that, it was because the star-plucking hand contained a supreme divine ability. If one cultivated the star-plucking hand to its limits, they might be able to comprehend this supreme divine ability, star-plucking one hand. When released, that supreme divine ability could truly pluck down the stars in the firmaments and use them as weapons to fight against powerful enemies. Whoa! The old man was already incoherent and his expression was grim. His lifespan was almost up and he exhausted almost all of his strength to release that divine ability. His essence spirit was extremely weak. To think that this divine ability would be destroyed by Wu Dao's true body with ease. Wu Dao's true body had a calm expression. After plucking the star conjured by the old man, he channeled strength in his palm. Snip. The star was crushed by Wu Dao's true body right in front of the old man. As though he was struck by lightning, the old man shuddered and his expression turned even more terrible. His life force was draining rapidly. The consecutive heavy injuries and blows caused him to be unable to hold on with his remaining lifespan. There was no need for Wu Dao's true body to attack. The Mahayana patriarch was already dead. Outside the library, above Tiankui Peak, Elder Zhanlong and the other two half-martial ancestors did not leave and waited quietly for the final outcome. Not long after, the library was filled with a heart-palpitating aura. Even through the sealed door, the three half-martial ancestors in midair could sense the fluctuations of the divine ability within the library. Elder's son has attacked. Elder Zhanlong could not help but laugh in joy. The other half-martial ancestor heaved a sigh of relief as well. With the descent of the divine ability, no matter how strong that mysterious purple-robed man is, he's only a half-martial ancestor and will definitely die. True enough. After the sound of resistance, the library returned to silence without any signs of life. Let's go. Let's head down and see who that mysterious purple-robed man is. Elder Zhanlong smiled gently and descended to Tiankui Peak with the two half-martial ancestors beside him, arriving in front of the library. The moment the three of them arrived at the door of the library opened automatically. The library was dark and deep with a hint of eeriness and calmness. Even the spirit consciousnesses and gazes of Elder Zhanlong and the other two could not penetrate it. All of a sudden, a figure flew out. Watch out! The expressions of Elder Zhanlong and the other two changed. Not daring to take it head-on, they retreated one after another and dodged. Bang! The figure fell to the ground motionlessly. The door of the library closed once again, slowly closing. Elder Zhanlong and the other two focused their gazes and saw that the figure lying on the ground was the Mahayana patriarch of the library, Elder Sun. At that moment, Elder Sun's eyes were opened with endless fear. There was no longer any life force in his body and he was unwilling to close his eyes. He was dead. The Mahayana realm old ancestor guarding the library had died. Ah! Elder Zhanlong and the other two exclaimed and felt a chill run down their spines as their scalps turned numb. Hurry, hurry! Inform the sect master. A half-martial ancestor said hurriedly with a trembling voice. There was no need for his reminder as Elder Zhanlong slapped his storage bag and took out a talisman. It was torn apart. Talisman? It shattered and a beam of light entered the void and vanished. Was that an emergency talisman for the sect? It would not be used unless the sect was destroyed? I've been keeping up with 3 updates recently as well. Let me praise myself. Good night, fellow readers. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.